This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
You're wrong! If you're getting any compensation, it's not charity!
Russ Wakeland. Did you put me on a boat with frickin' dragons attacking me and whatnot? Now we're talking. And Andrew Hartland in the third chair.
Don't bend your tape measure.
With contributions from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listener.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at the speed of a pirate ship full of crazy gamer goodness, bearing down on the coast of Massachusetts in the teeth of a full nor'easter. Ooh. This edition is brought to you by all of our fine patrons over at Patreon. That includes David Bartley, Walt Varhu, Sean Kellogg, Ron Hayes, Harold John Vogel, and many more. Come join them today. Tonight, our panelists are, as always, Russ, John Ward Wakeland, and itinerant pioneer and organized play gun for hire, Andrew the Bloody Hacksaw Hartland. Let's begin. Issue number 1. Piracy is typically an act of robbery or criminal violence at sea. The term can include acts committed on land, in the air, or in other major bodies of water, or on shore. Pirates have enjoyed something of a resurgence in popular culture for years now, and privateers, those vaguely sanctioned pirates of yesteryear, are right up there in the limelight. Question. Privateers working at the behest of a government would need to carry a particular piece of documentation proving that they were not just pirates working on their own. What was this documentation called? James Riskin or Russ?
Letter of marque.
Samuel Axe Andrew.
A driver's license.
And a credit card, yes.
Yes.
Russ, unfortunately, is correct. Oh, this one was so easy. Oh, apparently I'm getting easier. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Issue number 2. Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform. The company's stated mission is to help bring creative projects to life. Kickstarter claimed it has received over $1 billion in pledges from 5.7 million donors to fund 135,000 projects such as films, music, stage shows, comics, journalism, videos, games, food-related projects, and, of course, gaming conventions. Question. Although Kickstarter is undoubtedly a worldwide phenomenon, it only accepts projects based on one of 5 countries as of November 2013. What are those 5 countries? C.J. Walker Wakeland.
United States, Canada, Mexico. That's all I got.
Henry Hu Hartland.
I will add to Russ's list and say Estonia and Australia.
Estonia and Mexico were both very close, and however, that makes you both wrong! There's a very Anglophilic bias at Kickstarter core, apparently. Originally accepting only projects from the U.S. from 2009 to 2012, they opened the process up to projects in the U.K. in 2012, and then in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand in 2013. Issue number 3. Growth refers to a positive change in size, often over a period of time. Growth can occur as a stage of maturation or a process towards fulfillment or fulfilling. When it refers to things we particularly love, like apples, bank accounts, and gaming conventions, growth can be a really positive thing, as opposed to the term growths, which calls up an entirely different image. Question. Typically scaly, brown, and often somewhat greasy plaques that vary in size and thickness and often appear to be stuck onto the skin surface. What is the name of the most common benign growth of the skin? Papillosa nigra Russ.
Athlete's foot.
Aphilates Andrew.
I believe it's mole.
Oh, seborrheic keratosis, of course. Oh, that was for you, Tom Vassell. Getting too easy. Issue number 4. Infection is the invasion of a host organism's bodily tissues by disease-causing organisms, their multiplication, and the reaction of host tissues to these organisms and the toxins they produce. Quite often, fan reaction to a new game or other source of excitement can appear almost as an infection in the body of gamerdom. Question. How long after the first moment of exposure of the alpha vector will it be before an outbreak of hypergame excitementia sweeps all gamers on Earth and bounces back to the originally infected, striking them with surprise as they totally forgot about the game months ago? Rhinosporitis Russ.
6 months.
African sleeping sickness Andrew.
I have to go with the original and say 30 days later.
Interesting. Although internet authorities disagree on the exact numbers, all reliable sources agree that a small gaming group held in the back room of the local Oral Jelly official's office in Souvenir, a small town in the Seychelles, is notoriously lagging in all of the latest gaming goodness, and thus any serious account of the excitement level of the entire circle of gamerdom is sadly slowed, giving a number somewhere between 2 to 8 years. Perhaps if the Dice Tower should do a remote from the Oral Jelly official's office, I don't know. Well, that's all we've got for now. Thanks for listening. listening, and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by Lone Wolf Development. Take your game to the next level.
And by Geek Nation Tours. Rise up and join the Geek Nation, touring the world at geeknationtours.com.
And by Conquistador Games, focusing on immersive and thematic games. More details at cqgames.com.
And the War Store, bringing the war to your door since 1999, and that is for a decade or more.
And by Winged Hussar Publishing, providing books for students of history and history students. wingedhussarpublishing.com. And by Game Salute, publishing awesome tabletop games through the Powered by Game Salute program, supporting independent publishers, stores, and the industry at gamesalute.com. Hello!
Hello!
Buenas noches.
Hey, and welcome to episode
Multilingual!
146 of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakeland.
I'm Craig DeLong.
And I'm Andrew Hacksaw Hartland.
Yeah, hey, Hacksaw! The man, the myth, the legend. Andrew, welcome back to the show. We'd love to have you on here.
He's like the great
thank you.
white hunter. He disappears into the wilderness and then
Right.
he comes back with great new games and stories
Right.
and pirate ships.
Comes
and stuff
in, starts a tournament organization, goes off, disappears a few years, comes back, starts his own convention. These things happen. It's just how these things roll.
Yeah, well, that's how things just turn out
Right.
in Hacksaw's world.
Yar.
Yeah. So, Andrew, thanks for joining us. Today, of course, we're going to talk with Andrew quite a bit about your latest endeavor, Captain Con, right? Which is very
Yar.
exciting. Yar, yes. And of course, then Craig and I went off to a little convention called Adepticon. And so we thought spend some time to avoid Achievements of Gaming going epically long. We thought we would spend a segment going through not only talking about what we did at Adepticon, but talking quite a bit some of the games we got to try out and a little mini first thoughts on those as well. So it's kind of like a mini hodgepodge of reviews and sort of
maybe a
things we did.
tutorial on Chicago deep dish pizza.
Maybe there are tips and tricks you can do to getting your
There
Chicago
are
deep
indeed.
dish pizza in a reasonable amount of time. That's right.
That's right.
So up first, finally, Craig.
Yes.
Finally, we have
Finally,
tallied the
these-
votes.
These contests seem to last forever.
They seem to go on for a very long time, and I would claim, I don't know why that is, but they do. In any case, we have wrapped up our Malifaux Haiku contest, Andrew.
Haiku.
Andrew, did you enter our
Do you?
Malifaux Haiku contest?
Narp.
No, you did not. No, you did not. Are you familiar with the concept of a haiku? Have you ever written one in your lifetime?
I have, yes, done that.
That is not a haiku. Good try, though. Good effort.
At some point in the past, yes, I wrote a haiku.
All right. Very closer. Okay, so anyway, we've got some great entries. Craig and I have tallied them up, and later, somewhere in this episode, we like to hide these little gems, you see, so you never really know. It's sort of like a mini segment. We will tell you who the winner is of the three of our entrants are going to win 3 different Malifaux plastic boxes, starter boxes of awesome, along with 3 different decks of cards for Malifaux as well. So great stuff there. So listen to later the episode for all of that. And we'll be starting a new contest next episode. We have plenty of stuff to give away, Craig. Got to give some stuff away. Privateer sent us this new the Zombies Keep Out game, board game. You tried this game, Andrew?
It is in the mail. I
Yes.
have not gotten to play it yet, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, we saw it demoed at Adepticon. We'll talk about that later.
There's a lot of people playing it.
Yeah, a lot of hotness there. So in other news, we did record a lost chapter. We caught up with Andrew at our local Dunkin' Donuts, which works out great because he is from New England. And so, Andrew, do you remember what we talked about at Dunkin' Donuts?
I remember something about, the TempleCon early days and reminiscing and all the nostalgia and how
Yeah.
it's evolved.
Waxing nostalgic, right, Craig?
Right. Well, I mean, the key is that for those of you who don't know how central our little local convention, TempleCon, has been to the development of organized play with Privateer Press, I think it would be a very interesting lost chapter because that's what we talked about. Andrew was central to that whole effort and has worked as a hired gun for Privateer Press on more than one occasion. Rumor has it.
Yes.
Yes.
Rumors.
And as I recall, The origin story of the D6 has something to do with the drive back from TempleCon?
It does.
It does indeed. Well done, sir.
TempleCon has created many things. It's
indeed.
It should always be remembered.
Spawn. We should say Spawn.
Spawn, yes.
I think
right.
Spawn
is a spawning ground for great gaming ideas, I guess.
Well, just for ideas.
Mediocrity. Mediocre gaming ideas.
And hangovers as well.
Yes, many a hangover. Many a hangover. So that's all going on there. And Craig, what do people need to do if they want to listen to one of these lost chapters, like the one about TempleCon?
Well,
and the Pirates
you can go
story?
to our website and you can click on the lost chapters. But really, the best way to get lost chapters now, and the most financially sensible way, is to become a patron on Patreon. Again, go to our website, click through to our Patreon page there, check out our video, see Russ and I in full Technicolor,
right?
And jump on, be a part of the show, and we greatly appreciate all the support we've been getting. So many great patrons so far. It's just been really, really successful and a lot of fun. And for just $2 a show in support, sort of like a tip, you get full access to the entire library of the lost chapters.
Right. So very awesome. So hopefully you'll do that for us. We really, really appreciate it. It's a great way to support the show, and we give back by giving you extra content like the lost chapters. So let's see. What's the time now for, Craig?
Right about now, it's probably time for Achievements in Gaming.
It is indeed. Boy, the achievement noise is quiet today. Let me adjust that real quick here. Let's see.
That's okay. The
echo get that a little louder
really,
there.
really loud for some reason.
All right. Let's see.
All right. Fix that in post.
I'm working. There we go. So that's a little better. Anyway, Achievements in Gaming is brought to us by Eclectic Gamer, who's looking for some beta testers for a website that gives customized board game ratings. Check out eclectic-gamer.com/ratings. All right, so now...
Indeed it is.
For those of you in the know and those who aren't, we will now explain how Achievements in Gaming works.
That's right.
Every once in a while, it's good to freshen these things up. We get the occasional new listener on this podcast. So how this works is we're now going to talk about what we've been playing lately. That occasional noise you hear in the background is, in fact, the achievement noise. It is not a random error. We play it whenever someone does anything of gaming goodness.
It doesn't mean somebody's getting a phone call.
No,
or a text.
angels aren't getting their wings. Nothing like that.
Well, they are.
Well, okay. So as our guest, Andrew, what have you been playing lately? Now, in this section, we were talking mostly about pulp-type games. So just to set the level there. What do you got?
Well, I have a few things. I've been very busy lately with work and real life, which, of course, is a game in and of itself. However, I did a significant amount of drooling on my War Machine Tactics Kickstarter physical rewards, the War Chest.
Mine got in too, right? So wait, whoa, you got the War Chest?
I got the War Chest.
Okay, so
I mean, it's
here's mine.
Amazing.
I got my blister full. It was just a blister, but it was chock full of the models of the new Journeyman Warcasters coming out that are all based on the characters in the game, right? So I got those guys, as well as the cool metal coins. But that's all I got. So you got the War Chest. So tell those who are not in the know exactly what the War Chest involves.
Imagine a box. The most amazing box with lacquer and gold leaf and just, amazing carpentry. And imagine that box was made in China for a little bit less money. But it would still be amazing. And that's what you get. It's a really nice looking box. Pretty big, pretty hefty. It's got a foam insert which holds all the coins and all the models once you build them. And it's got a little placard there. It says, you're the best and all that kind of stuff. So I've got it sitting on a shelf. I put the top of the box with all the faction symbols on it behind it. It looks real nice on the shelf there.
Nice.
So that was really cool. And then additionally, inspired by that, and then, the recent passing of PAX East, I was watching a lot of the gameplay videos and the backer updates, just did a little, what do they call that? The marathon sessions of those things, watching War Machine Tactics gameplay.
Now, Andrew, did you get to PAX East or did you not?
I have been on travel for work, so no.
See? Because guess who's got 2 thumbs and played War Machine Tactics? This guy. That's right, baby. Yeah, it was awesome. Oh, it was so good. They're still working on the UI, so but it was fantastic. The models look awesome. The way everything works feels just right. It was just really, really so good. You're gonna be very pleased, I think, with it when it comes out.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited about it. And then in other video gaming news, I've been playing, even tonight while I'm on the road, I just started playing Blizzard's card game Hearthstone on the iPad.
How you liking Hearthstone? So this is like a collectible card game, but it's virtual, right?
Well, it's a free game, virtual card game. They have ways you can play for free all the way through, or you can do little microtransactions and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's a very cool game. You can tell they developed it with a tablet in mind. Cool interface, a lot of fun. They've got some stuff coming up, which they announced at PAX, which is adventure mode, which is kind of a single player campaign, and it's a lot of fun. I've been having a good time with that, and it's nice to have a game that I can play while I'm on the road. That's, low commitment level, but still a lot of fun.
Nice. Now, so you're liking it. Have you played any board games?
Yes, I also played last week before I left for my trip. I played Forbidden Desert, which is the sequel to Forbidden Island with the family. The kids love it.
How'd that go?
Have you guys played the Forbidden Island or Forbidden Desert?
My kids absolutely love Forbidden Island. We've looked at Forbidden Desert several times, but we haven't quite pulled the trigger on it. So is it good?
It is very good. So if you like Forbidden Island, you love it for the little elements of gameplay where you're making decisions that are not always optimal in order to kind of delay the ticking clock where you lose. And there's a little bit of the game where sometimes you have to go back to the rule book and say, how does this step work exactly, with the rising waters and all that kind of stuff. And occasionally you miss something and you're like, we missed it, but whatever. We won or we lost, but we kind of messed up. Well, they've fixed all those problems in Forbidden Desert.
Nice.
The mechanics are much more intuitive. So it's a very similar game, but, the mechanics just are a lot smoother in my opinion, and they've got a few new wrinkles in there that add to the strategy of it. And it's fun. I mean, my 6-year-old loves it, and she actually understands how it's played. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. And the components are really cool, too.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Very good. Very good quality.
Little, flying ship you got to build or something. It's really neat looking.
Yes, it's a little plastic chassis with the 4 parts that you have to add to get the flying ship out of the desert. So it's a lot of fun. Very
cool. That's awesome. I'm going to try that out now. You got me excited for it.
It's cool.
Cool. Craig, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? Well, before Adepticon,
Yeah.
I got in a couple games of Crossmaster again, so that was fun. I'm still really enjoying that game, and my collection has grown to include now every model in the first release. So that's a lot of models. And a lot of Bang the Dice game was getting played before Adepticon.
Yeah, good game.
And then on the plane to Adepticon, I played my very first ever board game on a phone.
Yes.
We played Lords of Waterdeep on Russ's phone.
I know. Wasn't that a good implementation?
It was a great execution of that game. It was a blast. It was really fun. A lot of cool little extra additional little graphical add-ons that made it cool, like the griffin flying around the city and things like that. And it was cool because I was able to pull off a strategy that Russ didn't see. Halfway through the game, Russ was talking about whether he or the AI would win.
That's right. I was convinced Craig was dead, but he was sandbagging me.
I was.
Totally.
I had a whole card, and I wasn't even the lady that gets extra points for building.
No, I thought that the computer was, because he was just like, we were on easy mode, right? And the guy was like dominating for a while there. I'm like, well, this is easy mode, and he's buying all these buildings. We're like, why? Why is he must be the guy? But he wasn't. So an easy mode, I guess, you just buy all the buildings, which is kind of dumb. Yeah. Unless you got the guy who gets you all the buildings.
So I squeaked it out. It wasn't a big win, but it was a win. So, but it was also a lot of fun and a great way to pass time on the airplane.
Right.
After Adepticon, we came home, and Russ and I played 2 more games of Crossmaster before we did the review. That was fun. A lot more Bang. And I played this is after Adepticon. I played the Resistance with the full expansion. Which was fun.
Now, so let me ask
now,
this.
Yes.
So
now, we'll talk about
Resistance.
About this now, or
no. Let's talk about the Adepticon
because I think Resistance is a pretty darn cool game.
Yeah, we should do we're going to do a mini review of Resistance during the Adepticon segment of this episode. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And then,
I have
of course,
plenty of experience with that game, so I can say with confidence that Craig is a spy.
All right.
I admit that I am a spy for the rebellion, traitor.
I see what you did there.
See, and Deadzone. Russ and I got 2 games of Deadzone in last night, and
Deadzone.
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
Sadly, I'm all in.
Deadzone.
I have. I think I reached through the Myriad Games computer register right into the warehouse and emptied the warehouse.
That's okay. Well, I was at Adepticon. I basically raided the warehouse and took everything Deadzone they had.
Yes. And I laughed at you. And yes, sadly,
your resistance lasted a week. Yep.
And of course, we also should blame our friend Shifty Will because he's really is the pusher. Yes. And his favorite mode really is the first taste is free.
Yep, that's how
have a couple free models, see how they work.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
And then you end up not only buying more of the ones he gave you, but all the other stuff combined. So having a lot of fun with Deadzone. And looking forward to playing a lot more, I hope, after making the order I just made last night.
Nice.
And that is like the spiritual successor to Necromunda, is what I've heard.
It is, yes. So Mantic is the company that's kind of known for, resurrecting old GW type style games, and they've done it again here with Deadzone.
Oh, one of them.
Yes. Well, they've done several. They have anyway, we'll talk about them later. So
my first miniatures game ever. Necromunda.
Nice.
And a great game it was.
It was one of our first league games we ever played.
It was. That's the first thing we ever did as an organized league locally was Necromunda.
Anything else, Craig? That was a pretty big list there.
No, that's it for me, not including all the stuff we did at Adepticon.
Right. So I'm going to skip by all my Adepticon stuff, too, because we'll talk about that later. But then, so I had back-to-back gaming conventions.
Yeah, somebody's spoiled.
So, yeah,
tough.
No lie. So I went to Adepticon, had a blast, more about that later. Then the weekend after was PAX East. Now, this year, Nicole was out of town on an auto assignment doing work. Somehow this work involved helicopter rides. I'm not exactly sure how you qualify that as work. But anyway, while she was gone, the girls and I were only going to be away one day, so we went to PAX just on Sunday. So that really curtailed how much sort of investigation I could do. And I want to apologize to Kurt Covert. I really wanted to get by the Smirk and Dagger booth, and I swung by at one moment on Sunday, but they were absolutely packed.
They're always busy, though.
Kurt was knee-deep in like an 8-person demo of one, I think it was Cutthroat Caverns, and they were also showing off Student Bodies, the new zombie game that Kurt was on talking about in the show. That game, by the way, looks phenomenal in person. Couldn't demo because it was mob, but I was watching over the shoulders. It looked really cool. That was great. Also at PAX East, so I spent a lot of time, the girls and I spent about most of our time in the video game section, checking all the indie games out, which are really where to check out. But over there also, several of the game companies are now in the main vendor area. So Privateer Press is there. And by the way, Andrew, they had the in-person studio-painted mounted striker there. Have you seen him in person yet? He looks awesome.
I have. Yes, and he rides the lightning hard.
He does. He looks awesome in person. I'm just saying. So he was there, not for sale yet, but his little model was there. Then they also had, so Privateer was there. Then, also in the main area is, Mayfair Games. A lot of their big game companies are there too now, which is kind of crazy. But I also managed to get over to one of my new favorite game companies is Greater Than Games. Are you familiar with Greater Than Games, Andrew?
I am not. Tell me more.
They do Sentinels of the Multiverse is probably their most famous title.
Okay, I know.
Which is a very fun co-op superhero card game. We've talked about a lot on the show. This, they came out with their brand new game. It is now on the streets, and it was available for advanced purchase at PAX East. And like the sucker I am, I snapped it up because not only did they have the game there, but they also had little three-dimensional plastic model bits you could buy only there. So, yeah, you got to do that. Along with the expansion, which is available only there. So, basically, I got a bunch of stuff. This is a co-op spaceship game where basically you and all your fellow players are commanders of basically a ragtag fugitive squad of a bunch of pirates and mercenaries who decided to band together because a giant force of evil is threatening the galaxy, namely in the form of a big, bad alien spacecraft of some type, or the alien space government, or whatever it is, and you go fight them. And it just looked really, really cool because through the course of the game, kind of like in Sentinels, how you build up your hero and get more powerful. In this, you kind of build up your spaceships, get more gear on them, get them tweaked out to fight the bad guy ships. It looks really fun. And I love the mechanics of Sentinels, so I had to try it out. So I've not actually, I'm ashamed to say I haven't played it. It was just a total impulse buy. So we'll see what happens with that.
How dare you not play a game you bought 3 days ago?
I know. So then, also I bought tons of Deadzone. And we'll talk more about Deadzone, I think, on our Adepticon section too. But I have played it quite a bit lately, and it is for Mantic. I've been wanting to like a Mantic game for a while now because they have so many cool. I love their miniatures. I like the style of their miniatures. I like the universe they're building up in Warpath, but I haven't found a game system I really like. Deadzone might be that one, and that's what they call a teaser, Craig. See how I do that?
Well done.
Teaser. So you have to listen to the Adepticon section for more about that. How about modeling, Andrew? Have you painted anything up or built anything lately?
I am in the process of building one of the most complex models I have built in my gaming career. A Privateer Press Colossal Mercenary Colossal for the Rulik sub-faction.
Oh, that's
the
a cool one.
Earthbreaker. Yes, I saw those for the first time assembled and painted at Adepticon. They look fantastic. A couple of them are floating around.
That model probably has 70 pieces.
Yeah, the Colossals are insane. Okay,
a lot of pieces.
But he's now. This is not your first Colossal, right? You built another Colossal.
No. I've built several of them, but he is by far the most daunting. He has been sitting on the desk looking at me with an evil grin.
So now is he completely built, and you're just thinking about priming him now, or is he well on his way being painted, or?
He is in process. He is a he is a bit by bit. I mean, honestly, there's some pinning and some magnetizing that's going to go on as well. So there's a step by step iterative process.
Any internal, like how crazy are you going with this guy? Going to do internal lighting and smoke and the whole bit, or what?
Nothing that crazy. It's just more about transportability.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's a challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. And then I've been trying to finish off my collection of the Retribution of Syra War Machine line models that I've had for quite a long time since they were released in probably 2010.
Is that the Closet Guilt? Is that the Closet Guilt with a pile of bits just sitting there staring at you? Yeah.
1 unit or 2 units left until they'll all be fully painted. So that's good stuff.
And what's your position on the Retribution of Skyra COD pieces, Andrew?
I'm for them. If you've got it, flaunt it, and if you
clearly
are an
they
elf,
do.
They have it. So
that's true.
I say go for it.
Okay.
Hey, right? Yeah. Shake what your mama gave you. Right. All right. So here we go.
Something like that.
Something like that. Craig, what have you been modeling?
What have I been modeling? Well, it's funny you should ask. I finished working on the Crossmaster Arena / Chaos Ball arena board that I have. So that's finally all done. I can play multiple different things on that. And that's a lot of fun. I've been working on a Deadzone Rebs faction team, which is cool. And I've been working on a bunch of Deadzone terrain that Shifty Will gave / lent me. I mean, I think I'll have it until he decides to have a big, giant, major mega battle, and then we'll all get together and put it all together. But I've been working on that also. Also at Adepticon, I was lucky enough to pick up one of the new, from Cool Mini or Not, one of the cool Sedition Wars terrain booster boxes. Yes. Which is awesome. And I just give a really quick dry brush to a bunch of that stuff, and it makes awesome scatter terrain for Deadzone, for like putting inside buildings to make them look like they provide more cover than just an empty shell.
And they're all like that infestant thing, so they look like the plague's been there, which is great.
Yeah, there's all there. Well, it's like it's divided even. There's a whole bunch of doors. I don't even know what I'm going to do about the doors. But the scatter terrain is divided evenly between cool-looking human stuff and totally corrupted, weird, tyranidy, infected-y looking organic elements. And so you can, with just that one box, I think last night we showed that with just that infected scatter terrain, you can turn the whole Deadzone board into looking like it had been infected. It was very cool.
Very cool.
And I've still got a bunch more of Antennasetti's workshop stuff from England, including some really cool cars and hover cars that I gave a quick dry brush to. I've been loading up on all this terrain for almost a year now because I was going to play Infinity, and then I had ended up not liking Infinity, so I had all this terrain not being used. And now that could be one of the many reasons I'm super excited about Deadzone, because I can use all this terrain now.
Yeah, nice.
What about you, Russ?
Well, mostly Deadzone. I'm not going to lie. I got a lot of Deadzone stuff.
If you sense a theme, you are not far off.
So terrain-wise, I actually ended up with 3 sets of Deadzone terrain. One comes in a starter box, and then they had a crazy, silly deal at Adepticon where if you bought 2 boxes of terrain, which is the same, each box had the same amount of terrain that comes in the starter set, you got a 3rd box free. And so I really could only justify buying 1 box, but then listener and patron Adam said, "Hey, I would like to buy a box too. Give you the 3rd one free. Why don't you keep it?" So we did that. So I ended up with 3 boxes of this terrain, which is awesome. So thank you, Adam, for that. And then, so all I did was I primed all the sprues. It's like 10 sprues in the box of terrain. So I primed all the sprues black, dry brushed them all, Took me less than an hour to prime and dry brush the entire set with just this like a light silver color. So I got this very simple, nothing fancy, but dry brush metallic looking, steel kind of looking stuff. And then I spent another hour or so clipping it all out and sticking it together. I'm liking how you can sort of snap it together like Legos. The only problem with it is that if you do snap it together like Legos, it'll tend to fall apart under any kind of heavy play. So you probably want to end up gluing it to just keep it more durable if you're going to play a lot on it. Then I also built out my orcs. So they're called the Marauder faction. They are actually orcs, but the thing about these orcs is they're also orcs in the singular. So you see one orcs walking by or 6 orcs walking by because all the orcs in Warpath in Deadzone are spelled with an X, O-R-X for orcs. Anyway, so these guys are really cool. They have like big orcs in Ripper suits, which bear a similar resemblance to something you might have known as a Mega Armored Knob back in the day from GW. They have little tiny goblins and sniper rifles, the whole bit. And I'm pretty pleased with the Deadzone models, although there's a lot of flashing and cleanup work to do. So having been spoiled by some of the bigger boys like Privateer and GW and everybody who's ever got clean model lines and are really easy to assemble, these are a little more prep work, but if you put the time in, they do look pretty nice when they're done. So I'm really happy with my orcs, and it's fun to be playing orcs again. So I got them all built. It took me longer than I expected. Got all the terrain built. Now I just got to dry brush and paint my orcs up. So that's going to take me probably another week. But Easter's going to slow me down. So maybe a week after next I'll be done with them. Mm-hmm. So that is my modeling. What about others? So Andrew, how about things like cool TV shows, geeky movies, books you're reading, that kind of stuff?
Well, I have a decent commute every day, so I've been doing the Audible thing.
Oh, excellent choice.
Yes.
A lot of audio books. Mm-hmm. I just finished the second book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen series.
How you liking those?
And I think I'm done because I fell asleep.
Oh.
Yeah. I gotta say,
not while driving.
Okay.
You made it further than I did. I only made it to through book 1.
Wow, not so good. Yeah. All right.
So a friend of mine, well, a distant friend, a friend has recommended them, and I gave it a shot. But yeah, the second one, I was just like, wow, this is over yet.
Pass. All right.
So that's over with. But I'm looking forward to starting the next book in my queue for Audible, which is Brandon Sanderson's second book in the Stormlight Archive called Words of Radiance. As you may know, he's the guy finishing up the Wheel of Time series. Once Robert Jordan passed away, and he did a good job there. And his original fantasy series, the first book was really good. Just a very different take on fantasy, some very interesting concepts in there, which I enjoyed.
Okay.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking forward to a couple movies. A couple new trailers just got released for X-Men Days of Future Past and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians,
so
that's looking
cool.
good. They had a nice preview for Guardians of the Galaxy in front of Captain America, and it was most impressive. So
I have not seen Winter Soldier yet. I need to get to
that. That needs to happen, Andrew.
Yeah.
Also, warning.
Is it appropriate for a 6-year-old or?
My daughters both liked it, but they are 10 and 11. So 6 is on the edge. There's not a lot of gross stuff in there, but
but there's a lot of loud noises.
It's
and
loud,
banging
yeah. So it's usual hero thing. Did she like Avengers or that kind of thing? Or Thor?
So let me tell you my Avengers story for my 6-year-old. She was 5 when she saw it.
Yeah.
She loved it so much that a common thing around the house is she'll walk into a room, see me, my wife, and my 3-year-old, and she'll point to my wife and she'll go, "You go there, you go there." Hulk smash.
Then
and then my 3-year-old acts like the Hulk.
Nice, that's awesome, Andrew. Well, then she'll love it because it's not just a single hero movie. It does prominently feature both Black Widow and Falcon as well. Okay. So she'll probably. And my oldest daughter loved Black Widow in Avengers, and it's one of her favorite heroes now. So to see that much screen time for Black Widow, she was very excited. So yeah, it was a win. It was a good movie. It was a fantastic film. Also, if you are watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show, are you?
I started watching it and just kind of drifted away.
Okay.
It was slow in the beginning, but I've heard it's picking up.
So here's the scoop. If you, a listener, are watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you've fallen behind, you need to be very, very careful. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been slowly building up one of the major plot points that occurs in Captain America.
Yeah.
And then the episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that occurs after Captain America physically premiered continues the story that starts in Winter Soldier. If you watch these in the wrong order, you will spoil one or the other, and you will be confused.
Yes.
So what you optimally, I need to look the episode number up for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Craig, do you happen to know the episode number? I do not.
I don't.
But basically, you want to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right up to the one that came out before so look at the dates they aired. If you're watching it on like iTunes or Netflix or whatever, or Hulu or whatever, look at the original air dates and pick the ones right up to the date before Winter Soldier premiered. Watch all of those. Then go watch Winter Soldier, and then come back and watch the next Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And all of a sudden, there'll be this really, really cool story arc. You're like, oh my God, how did they pull all that off? That's my interpretation of the whole thing anyway. So, I don't know. Craig, what do you think? Is that fair?
Yes. I'm looking at it, and I think it's episode 15 was Yes Men.
Okay.
That's Lorelai and that chick you love.
Yes.
Right? And then 16, End of the Beginning, which was Deathlock and the S.H.I.E.L.D. Safe House.
Yep.
And then 17 is the one you're talking about.
The one after Winter Soldier.
Yep.
So, yes, you want to watch up through 16, but then watch Winter Soldier, and then watch 17. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So when should I jump back in if
you're behind,
if
you're behind Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you want to go back to where you left off. Start watching until you get to episode 16. Then stop. Then go watch Winter Soldier, and then come back and watch from 17 on.
Okay.
Basically what you want to do there. So yeah. So anyway, so that I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So Craig, what about you?
What about me? Well, I have in my new search for an independently published book of somebody out there in publishing on their own on the Kindle.
Yeah.
I found Isaac Hook's Atlas.
Oh,
which is basically Titanfall the novel.
Oh.
It's almost freakish in you can tell this guy like must have written it literally. He must have finished it within a year because there are references to Amazon drones and cronuts and a couple other things that are like have been in the news within the last year that are all in this book. And it's neat. It's not like the best sci-fi you're ever going to read, but it's really, really cool. It's a cool new world to investigate. It's mostly, kind of gung-ho military sci-fi kind of stuff. And the focus is this Atlas, which is basically the same thing as a Titan, from what I gather, because I have never played Titanfall. I don't know. But they're these giant 9-foot-tall mechs that jump down from orbit while everybody else uses like jump packs and stuff, and you can get in and out of them during battle. And from everything I've heard about Titanfall, the Atlases in Isaac Hook's book are just like that.
Cool.
So that was cool. On Audible, I'm listening to Patrick Rothfuss's The Wise Man's Fear. I've already read it, and now I'm listening to it.
Is that the second one?
That is the second one, yeah.
So I've heard very mixed reviews. I've done Audible the first one, but I've been kind of tenuous.
Well, it's long.
Yeah,
it's one of the longest books you can get for one credit. So it has that going for it. I got it on a sale for $5. So it was like a no-brainer for me because it's like taking me 2 months to finish it. So I'm allowing my account to replenish its credits while I listen to it. While you're listening to it, each individual part is as cool as the first book, undeniably. Okay. However, I would say the structure of the book is weaker. It's much longer. It's like twice the size of the original book. And there's a couple things that he did that are very odd to me in that, like, really important elements to his story, apparently, they appear like they're really important anyway, happen off stage. Like, we're going to talk about him looking for a book for like 5 chapters, but there's this massive pirate attack in which he loses all of his worldly possessions, and that's a paragraph and a half of, oh, by the way, this happened to me on my way from X to Z. So that was very odd to me. And it's very frustrating to me when you spend hours upon hours of Audible or hundreds of pages of real book, the character slowly clawing his way up and achieving all these things and getting all these cool things. And then like, you know what? I like my characters to struggle, so he's going to have to start at 0 again. So I'm just going to wipe all that away. So that was a little, there's a frustrating sort of reset moment right in the middle of the book. But like the writing is still really good. The characters are still really great. It's just that it's long and which generally is not a bad thing because like I said, I'm enjoying it moment to moment, but it does have a couple moments in it where you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my short review in a nutshell. But Audible is great.
Yeah, I like it.
It is great. So if you want to become an Audible member, what you want to do is
or for a free Audible credit and become a free member for 30 days.
Use the link on our website. Go to the D6generation.com, click on the Audible logo on the right-hand side, and you will get a free 30-day trial and a free credit that gives you a permanent audiobook you get to keep forever, even if you cancel your membership. And, of course, being a member for 30 days gives you access to all the great Audible member deals, which happen nearly continuously.
Yeah,
it's just a great way to absorb fantastic works of literature while you are driving in your car, mowing your lawn. Literature, it is my pronunciation of literature.
Oh, gotcha.
You can also use it. I like it while I'm painting. It's great to listen to the War Machine books while you're painting War Machine. It just really works out very well. It comes all together. Which, by the way, Andrew, have you read those yet? Any of those?
I've read The Way of Cain.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I like The Way of Cain a lot, actually.
I've read the first Convergence book, which was the one with Aurora in it. And what was the other one that I read? I've read a few of them, but I am starting to do them on Audible now. So I've got them already got the credits downloaded and everything, so I need to just jump in.
The best is the Larry Corio one, which is the one about Into the Storm, which is basically a Dirty Dozen story of Storm Knights, which is just awesome. It's a really, really well-written one.
Yeah, I've listened to his entire Hard Magic series on Audible, and I really liked his writing style.
He's really good.
He is a great writer.
And if you follow him on Twitter, you will discover he is actually a War Machine gamer.
Yeah. He is, yes.
He's constantly tweeting pictures of all his models and everything, which is awesome.
Yeah. Monster Hunters International books are awesome.
Yeah. We need to get him on the show. We need to reach out to him.
We need to reach out.
Larry, we'd love to come on. We'd love to have you. Okay, so...
that doesn't count as reaching out.
No, darn it. I got to actually do work. Okay.
Nice try, though.
All right.
I could probably get the guys who work with him through PP to get him. Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.
Well, he's already responded to us on Twitter. Russ is just being lazy.
Okay.
No, but Andrew, I will reach out. Our people
we'll take
talk
whatever
to
help you can offer just to force Russ's hand.
Right.
Yeah, Aaron Rudell is the guy who runs the shop there for all the books, so he can probably give you
that'd be fantastic. I love it. Okay, so we'll have people talk to people and we'll do lunch. That'd be good. Okay.
Yes.
So excellent. So Craig, did it cut you off? What else are you doing? Anything else?
What else did I do? Yes. Captain America, we already talked about enough because I don't want to spoil anything. That was awesome. In my opinion, it was the best of these movies since the first Iron Man. To me, anyway. I thought it was fantastic.
Agreed.
Brand new sci-fi show on the WB called The 100, which looked very intriguing to me. And 3 episodes in, I was like, and I'm done.
Yep.
Kind of boring. Kind of like, and yes, yet another teen angst movie, TV show from the WB. So it was, that's really, Arrow it fits into that exact same, although that's 20 somethings. So that's a little better. Mm-hmm. But and I like Arrow. So don't send me emails about Arrow.
That'd be coming from Ian. Ian on the Nerd Herders will send you all kinds of hate mail if you don't like Arrow.
That's right. No. I like Arrow.
Okay, good.
I've heard other adults say they like Arrow as well.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. But the 100 is kind of like, it's just sort of It's like After Earth, the TV show.
Oh dear. Oh.
And then I have an exciting new book deal. Winged Hussar is entering a new phase of its corporate formation. And for me, what that means is I'll still be writing books for Wild West Exodus. Somebody's reading them, so that's cool. And I appreciate any support that anyone else out there can give me and read those books and, let me know if you like them. And if not, keep it to yourself and just, think bad thoughts in your head.
When will I be able to download Craig Gallant books on Audible?
That is still in the works, actually. Yes. But it's you can't do a contract like that with just a single book. Oddly enough, okay. As a small publisher, you need to have like a library. So we're trying to build that up.
Nice,
but that deal is in the works, as well as translation deals. You can get it on Kindle and for your Barnes and Noble equivalent, the Nook. And you can get it on Amazon, and you can get it in Barnes & Noble, and you can get it in, I think, Waterstones in England, and there are several bookstores that should now be carrying it in Australia and New Zealand as well. So that's cool. The coolest part for me about all this, however, is although I will still be writing books set in the Wild West Exodus universe, 2014 or early 2015 should see the publication of my first completely independent novel. So that's going to be awesome.
That's exciting, Craig.
Yeah, that's very exciting. So all that happened at Adepticon.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful news.
You too can get a book deal by going to Adepticon.
Right.
Not really. Well, you might.
You never know. Hey,
you never can tell. That's where all the book stuff happened for me. But yeah, so that's my super exciting news.
Right.
Coming out of Adepticon was that I've got all these ideas churning in my head that I didn't have the time for because it's either work on stuff that I'm not getting paid for, but I really want to work on, or work on stuff that I'm getting paid for. And now I'm getting paid for working on the stuff I really want to pay. So I've loved I love present tense with the Wild West Exodus stuff, but I'm super excited that I'm going to be able to sort of do my own stuff at the same time. So that's exciting for me.
Very cool.
That's what I got.
Well done.
Thank you.
So I'll wrap up real quick here. So did go to PAX East, obviously, and the video game side, as I mentioned, we like the indie games a lot. My girls saw a couple really fun-looking indie games there. But one of the non-indie games I really liked was a game called Grey Goo. And Grey Goo is not coming out till near the end of the year. It is a real-time strategy game, and this is a genre pioneered by games like Orcs vs. Humans and Command and Conquer and StarCraft. Those are those kind of games. This is a new one like that, and it turns out these are some of, according to the guys there, these are many of the developers who were behind the original Command and Conquer doing a new game. And it's a sci-fi bent, and you got your human faction, you got obligatory human faction, you got sort of a high-tech sort of space elf faction, but then you have this new faction concept called the Grey Goo, which are basically like slime people, which looks kind of interesting. So, but the game itself looked really cool. Graphics look fantastic, so it looked like a good one. And I'm a sucker for RTSs, so I'll probably be onto that one. And then, of course, I played War Machine Tactics, I mentioned earlier. Really enjoyed that. It's exactly what I'm hoping for. It's exactly where I would expect it to be. In fact, even better along than I expected at this point in the development cycle. I think everybody who's involved with that is going to be very pleased as a War Machine player. And I think it will extend beyond the War Machine crowd. If you want a good turn-based strategy game set in a sort of steampunky sci-fi universe, you're gonna like War Machine. Then got some new video games for home. I picked up Age of Wonders 3. Are you familiar with the Age of Wonders series at all, Andrew?
Peripherally, I've heard about it, have not played it.
So this is a turn-based sort of fantasy 4X game, kind of like a lot of people are calling it like civilization fantasy. But what's cool about it is the combat system isn't as abstracted. So in Civ, right, you have multiple cities, you manage those, you build your economy, and then when you fight, you basically just fly in your dudes, and there's a little war, and it's over, and then you move on. Well, in this game, it turns into like Warhammer Fantasy, the tactical turn-based combat game when you fight. So like you've got your ranks of divisions all spread out across the board, and you got your winged fairies coming in, and your unicorns if you're the elves, or you've got your orcs and your flying raiders and your nightmare stags and whatever else you need. So you get all kinds of units, range weapons, spell slingers, you name it, heroes that level up and the whole thing. And then after that battle thing happens, and you zoom back out to the macro map where you've got you can found new cities and build your economy and harvest men and all this kind of craziness. Really, really cool. Just one more turn kind of game. So if you like Civ or fantasy-based turn games, I would definitely check out Age of Wonder 3 on Steam. Good looking game, looks solid. And then also in the Strange Video Games camp, I did end up springing got my daughter's Kinect Sports Rivals, which is the first Kinect Sports game for the Xbox One. And this game's interesting because it's just a sports game, so you bounce around and it's got different categories. So there's like jet ski, and you basically put your hands out in front of you and pretend like you're turning a jet ski, and it figures it all out by reading your body movements and knows how to turn. And then there's like rock climbing where you reach your hands up and position them, and it figures out where you're reaching and shows you climbing the rock wall. And then you've got tennis and bowling and target shooting, which is kind of interesting. But what's really interesting about this game, and my daughters are really digging the whole competitive thing, and it's kind of like Forza, where when you play multiplayer, even by yourself, it brings in other avatars for your friends. So you see their avatars in the game. Like in Forza, you'll see your friends driving their cars, and they drive, and it analyzes their driving patterns, so they drive like they do. So even when you're playing single player, it's kind of like you're racing your friends, even though they're not online right now. So Rivals is the same thing. What's really freaky about Rivals, here's the freaky thing. So when you first get the game and you're making your avatar, it says, we're going to scan your body and make a pixelized version of yourself. So it scans your body, figures out your rough body shape, asks you only one question: are you a man? Oh, two questions: your gender and if you're an adult or a kid. After that, then it sort of figures out your body shape, and then it asks you to come closer to the camera, and it scans your face. And actually shows your face being scanned, shows a 3D model of your face on the screen, and then it makes a caricature of your face on your guy. And it actually, and it looks freakily like you. It's really kind of disturbing. But then it does perfect expressions. So your character smiles, laughs, grits with anger when you're about to fall off the rock wall, all that. And it's just really, really kind of eerie how cool it is, how much it works with it. So it's kind of freaky because then you see your friends looking like themselves in the game, racing against you and stuff. It's pretty crazy. So it's kind of a neat, I'm not sure how great of an overall gaming experience it is compared to like Titanfall or anything, but it's just a really sort of interesting application of the Kinect technology. So that was pretty cool. And then as we've already talked about Cap and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just watch both those things in the right order and you'll be very pleased. Mm-hmm. Also, Joss Whedon is still a bastard.
He is.
In terms of his plot twists and all that kind of stuff. And finally, I did finish Insurgent, which is book 2 in the Divergent series, which I'm basically reading to keep with my daughter. So now I'm getting ready to read the final book in that series, which I forget what it's called, but it's got a gent on the end.
I bet it ends in ENT.
Yes, it does.
That movie is supposed to be out soon, right?
It's already out.
The first one?
It's out and gone.
It's out and gone. I don't know how well it did. My daughters actually enjoyed the film until the end. The end of the movie, they sort of twisted. It ended in the same place as the book, but they twisted how it happened and left out some key things that really disturbed them. In terms of being able to set up the second book. Because a couple of key plot points were just simply ignored that are kind of the very beginning of the second book. So
it's still in theaters.
Yeah. So it's I guess it's doing all right. I don't think it's doing as well as Hunger Games or anything, but it's doing all right. So anyway, that's my achievements. Anything else? Is that it? Is that achievements?
I'm now set.
That's good to me.
We're achieved out.
Achievements.
D6 generation. Not as good as Lord of the Rings, but better than The Hobbit.
But The Hobbits has the lovely hobbitses. Schmeagol, there is only one hobbits in The Hobbits. There are 1, 2, many hobbits in The Lord of the Rings.
Hey, now it's time to talk about our friends at Lone Wolf Development. Oh, there's the wolf. And they're so proud right now because RealmWorks is out the door, out there for anybody who wants to buy it. And I must say that if you have not looked at RealmWorks, you really, really should.
You really, really have not been paying attention to anything we've said since Gen Con 2 years ago.
That's right, because now that is the ultimate way to track, really, you know what? It really is the ultimate way to track anything about any kind of story you're trying to make. It's obviously designed for role-playing games, and it does a phenomenal job. However, it also does, if you're a writer, anything, you really got to see this to understand the way it just helps you organize information. It really is kind of, it's designed for RPGs, but it does so much more.
I'm telling you, I am going to start using it for writing purposes, and I'm going to, I'll let you guys know how it works, but I have every intention of keeping track of anything new that I write on my own on a as a RealmWorks campaign.
Yeah, and don't forget, too, that Hero Lab 5 version 5 just came out. There's all kinds of great new support for Shadowrun and Pathfinder in there. Just you name it. And just to follow these guys, head on over to Twitter. Check them all out over there at Lone Wolf Devel. Oh, you'll see all the latest things happening from Lone Wolf over there right now. See everything happening. So check them out. These guys make the best possible software for anything related to gaming, pretty much whatsoever.
Fight the monsters, not the tools.
Exactly right. Wolflair.com. And now, what's in the news? With a shout-out, robots, zombies, and pirates, oh my! Custom 3D printed meeples are now available at bit.ly/bittybots. That's bit.ly/bittybots. And now, the news. The big news this last week is, of course, the announcement of Infinity 3rd Edition. Now, Wakeland sat down and actually watched the video over at Bell of Lost Souls. Oh, yeah, baby! And he saw the English translation, the exclusive one, of the announcement over there across the water in Spain. The announcement basically sums it up like this. First of all, there is going to be an Infinity 3rd Edition. It is coming out rather soon, probably this fall. And the book will be basically a replacement for the Infinity 2nd Edition core rulebook. And the rules will be written in such a way that the 2 expansions sent to that book will still be compatible, the campaign book and the expansion book. So that means that the core rules are getting fluffed up a little bit, cleaned up a little bit, new, better translation this time around. Our friends at Corpus Belli admit freely that they had some rough translation issues in the first version. So looking very exciting. In addition to the rules refresh, the new book will also contain new art, newly revised background material, as well as new models for all the factions in that book. If your faction is not in that book, don't worry. Other new models are coming for your other factions as well. So everybody's going to have new hotness coming this fall. Looks pretty exciting if you're an Infinity fan or someone who's been looking at Infinity but found the current rules a little fuzzy and fiddly. Might be time to take another visit as fall approaches. In other news, earlier this episode and later after the news, you will hear Russ and Craig talk to Andrew about Captain Con. When this show is recorded, Captain Con's Kickstarter was in full swing, but now, due to the vagaries of Kickstarter being so short and Wakeland's inability to get anything done on time, this show is going live after the Kickstarter has ended. However, happily, we are happy to report that the Kickstarter did indeed fund, and Captain Con is well on the way. If you are excited about what you hear in this episode about Captain Con, head on over to CaptainCon.com to get all the latest news, buy tickets, and attend this really cool sounding event. And what is the event about and how's it going to work? Well, later this episode, you'll find out all about that. Let's see. In other news, Fantasy Flight Games has announced the upcoming release of the E-Wing Starfighter. That's E as in after F. Or actually, I'm sorry, E comes before F, doesn't it? Well, alphabets, who knew? Anyway, the E-Wing Starfighter coming out for X-Wing. Lots of cool information about that. If you're excited about that sort of thing, head on over to fantasyflightgames.com. Also, of course, Spartan Games has announced the new starter boxes and what's going to be in them for Dystopian Wars 2.0. If you're interested in that, head over to Spartan Games at spartangames.co.uk. And other kind of interesting news here is Patreon has taken off. You know, that supporting service that the D6G uses for folks to support the show. It's taken off in some really interesting ways people are using this. For example, geeky news. Our friends at Evil Hat Productions, the guys that make all those cool fudge system role-playing games and other things, have set up Patreon now so that every time they release a new role-playing supplement, you tip them. And they're doing pretty well for it, I think. So it's a pretty cool way to encourage them to produce more RPG supplements. So that's kind of a neat way to use Patreon. A little different than other methods, but really slick. And now, Wakeland has also asked to start a new segment inside the news. Get your own segment, Wakeland. Hey! Called Russ's App of the Episode. Okay, so Russ, take it away. All right, here, get me closer so you can hear me. All right, here we go, guys. This week's app, I have been playing a little game that I'm really falling in love with my daughters, but I think any kids of any ages would like this. It's called Child of Light. This is a really endearingly animated Japanese-style RPG of a little girl who tragically, right in the beginning of the episode, right at the beginning of the game, appears to die and then comes to life in a dreamscape and takes on the form of a fairy and flies around, but has really great animation style, really great art direction, really, really very endearing and captivating world. What's really slick about it, though, from a gameplay point of view, it is a Japanese-style RPG, so when you encounter enemy, it goes into a turn-based combat system. You'll eventually have multiple party members who fight alongside of you. There's a complete RPG leveling up mechanic with new skills and abilities and powers. And what's really nice is it's 2 players from the couch can co-op. The main protagonist, the Child of Light, is accompanied by a little firefly. And in the single-player version, the second joystick is used to control the firefly. But if you're playing co-op, the second player can control the firefly in a very engaging and really fun way that both helps in battles and in exploring the universe. So check out Child of Light. Is a digital download available on most platforms, including Xbox, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, 360, Wii U, and the PC. Yep, pretty much all of them. Check it out. Child of Light. And that's what's in the news. Hey, welcome back. You know, since we have Andrew Hacksaw Hartland on the show. Hacksaw. Andrew, do you still go by Hacksaw on various forums and other locations around the internets?
Oh, yes. That is my moniker, nom de plume.
Dude,
nom de plume.
Nom de guerre.
I love it.
Alias, whatever you want to call it.
So, you know, Andrew, for those who know you now are in the process of running a Kickstarter to start, of all things, a gaming convention.
You got it.
So let me ask, before we get to there, Captain Con, the gaming convention for 2014 that you were funding the initial event on Kickstarter here. Let me just back up a little bit and talk a little about your convention history and how you got involved in being involved in running conventions, and then what led up to this decision to create your own.
Sure. So I have been a gamer for a long time, and I've started my convention career at, probably Gen Con being the most traditional one, and that was probably about 10 years ago now.
Right.
And I did a couple years of Gen Con, and I loved it. And then the local New England community started up TempleCon, which we're all familiar with. So I went to TempleCon as an attendee, just a player at the time in the first year when they were at the Holiday Inn in
Right.
I think it was just outside of Pawtucket. I think it was in actually Providence where the Holiday Inn was year one. And I saw a lot of stuff there that was fun and interesting, and I was like, wow, this is a lot different than Gen Con.
Right.
It was this single ballroom with just the tables and people hanging out. And I said, well, it'd be nice to have some of that here and grow it a little bit. And then I went to the second year of TempleCon, and it grew a little bit. And then I went to Gen Con again, and I just started drawing comparisons. And the third year of TempleCon, I really got involved and said, hey, I've got some ideas. They're doing some stuff in different places that I think we could do. And, I just started jumping in as a volunteer, as a press ganger for privateer press events and general organization. I've got a heavy logistics background from both my time in the Army and just the work that I do for a living. So
Nice.
As I went to more conventions, I learned more stuff and then applied it to, the local events that I was a part of.
Great. And so what kind of got you to the point where you're like, A, we need another convention in New England, and B, I need to run it?
Well, Paul Shoemaker, a.k.a. Snake Man,
Yes.
who is still in the Boston area, works for City of Boston. He's a Boston guy through and through. He and Craig Caton, Lonely Monk, who's my other partner in crime, we've been running conventions for quite a while. We've been doing the TempleCon thing and other stuff, now PAX East. And off to the side, just for fun, because we're that kind of people, we decided, hey, we should be running this team event too. So the New England Team Tournament is a big event that we've been running for probably about 7 years.
Yeah, Craig and I have attended that at least once, maybe twice.
I remember you guys came to Danger Planet when that was still a thing.
Did, yes. Yeah, good times.
That was fun.
That was, and one
And-
time I went to Danger Planet and I got beaten by a 13-year-old, just saying.
That one time I got yelled at by a pirate.
Oh, good times back in the day.
Good times, good times.
But so that's been going on for quite a while, and it has just grown by leaps and bounds every year. And last year there were about 24 teams, so that's 72 people. So that becomes a little bit tough to run as a one-off event. And Paul and Craig and myself talked about it, and we said, there's probably enough interest here. We could make this a 2-day event.
Yeah.
And then, as you all probably know, when you have a 2-day event, you're really prepping for that event on Friday as well. So I said, well, we might as well make it a 3-day event.
Well, why not? Of course. Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
This makes sense, right?
You can see the logic going here.
Exactly. It's more like a snowball going downhill is what it really is. And that really just came to the conclusion that made sense. And then, being the logical people that we are, we said, okay, so what does it take to make that happen? And we started making lists of things that we need and logistics and dollar signs that are associated with all that, and said, this seems impossible.
That's a lot of monies.
Exactly.
Right.
We're all, people with day jobs and limited budgets, and we already do enough things on our own out in the con land that we said, no, I guess this is going to have to just keep on rolling like it is. And then one day, I don't remember who it was, I think Paul and I both talked about it and said, look, what about Kickstarter?
Right.
And it's just kind of evolved from there, and Kickstarter is an interesting vehicle. I know you guys have talked about it in the light of a variety of game projects, et cetera, that people have done, but there's not a lot of events event-driven Kickstarter, and we thought, hey, let's try this.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating that you guys are running a convention or launching a convention through Kickstarter. It's a really interesting sort of approach here. So what kind of preparation, I mean, what kind of research do you guys do to think, okay, there's not a lot of these been done this way. What are the similarities and differences between other kinds of Kickstarters events? I mean, how did you guys kind of figure out the best way to approach this?
Well, we knew that we had, number one, an existing audience in our New England team tournament attendees. Right. So that was step one. If we were just to say, in a social environment, if you were to go into a mall and go into the center of the food court and yell, "Hey, there's a party at my place on Saturday." Right. You're probably not going to have good results. Mm-hmm. And the people that do show up will probably be a little bit scary. But anyway, that's not the approach we wanted to take. So we said, we've got a core audience, so we're going to focus on that. That'll be our marquee event, and that'll be our core group. We know what it takes to run that event. So we looked at different locations throughout New England. We looked at a ton of hotels. We looked at just local halls and kind of town resources, and we did finally settle on the Holiday Inn in Taunton. Mm-hmm. And basically, the ballroom that they had there had more room than we needed for the New England team tournament.
There you go.
So we said, hey, if this is the place we want to be, it's kind of ideally located and has the resources that we need. Mm-hmm. Let's use this as a baseline. And we came up with a funding profile. If you look at Captain Con on the Kickstarter page, we have a full breakdown of what our budget is. We're full disclosure with this. We don't see this as an event that is meant to be profitable. Right. Mm-hmm. It's really just to kind of sustain itself moving into the future.
Sure. That makes sense. That's awesome. So you ended up in Taunton, Massachusetts with the Holiday Inn there. And now, the center of this thing is the whole War Machine, your War Machine team tournament, right? War Machine Hordes team tournament. So did you, who have you reached out to beyond your core group to kind of help you organize this? Did you reach out to the War Machine community? Did you reach out to other communities? How did you try to promote and leverage this idea?
We went to everyone that we know. One of the things that's great about going to conventions is that you meet a lot of great people, right. Not only in the games that you play, but also the industry in general. So we've met up with people from Cool Mini or Not. Mm-hmm. We met up from people from Malifaux, from Weird. Mm-hmm. We know a lot of people in board games and just players and industry professionals as well. So we have really reached out to just about everybody. Then we've also reached out to the vendors, both for specific games or people that want to start new things up for demos, online presence stores. We've reached out to the entire gamut in our network and said, hey, we're doing this. And the great thing about it is the conversation is not really a sales pitch. It's what can we do for you?
That's awesome.
What can we do to make this an event that you want to attend and you're going to get value out of? And that's a great thing about the Kickstarter model is you can make adjustments as your audience starts to solidify in one area. You can say, okay, there's a need for this. Let's make it happen. You create a new pledge level or you do an add-on, whatever you want to do. And it really gives you a great way to know who your core audience is for this event before it even happens.
Right.
A lot of the risk in the convention is you're going to lay out a lot of cash. You're not going to know who your audience is, and you're just going to cross your fingers and hope you sell tickets. We're not going to do that.
Well, I think that's one of the, I think, clear signs this is a great application of Kickstarter, because the whole premise of Kickstarter is if you don't hit your minimum number, no one pays anything, and you guys walk away and you say, hey, we tried, no one was interested, so we're done, and no one gets hurt. So this is great because, well, clearly, A, you're already funded, so problem solved there. And you got 90 backers as of today. Today is April, 9th? April 9th, you've got 90 backers, and you've made you've already exceeded your $9,800 goal. You're at $10,000, which looks great. So you've already done it. So are you guys excited that you've done it with still 18 days left?
We are super excited, and I'll just take this time now to say thank you to everybody, individuals, companies who have funded us to this point. We are extremely happy. We are, going to make this one of the best events in New England, but we've got 18 days to go. So we have a ton of stretch goals in mind. Some of them are on the site already. Other ones that we have in mind are related to more space. But yeah, clearly the message has gotten out to the audience that it was intended for, and as of right now, we're going to have a successful startup.
Awesome.
Very cool.
What kind of events are you going to have there? You mentioned a team tournament. Yeah. So
what's the structure of the? Well, what games do you think you're going to focus on? But then, more importantly, I hear there's all kinds of cool reading through the Kickstarter and stuff. Some really cool structure to the games that you're going to be doing.
Yes. So we are tabletop gamers. And that's what we're going to focus on. That's our core audience. That's the community that we know, both miniatures games and board games. We have miniatures games already in there are War Machine and Hordes. We've got to look for, and this is another key to convention building, is you have to have a champion for the systems that you want to run, right? So that's the reason why War Machine and Hordes has been so successful at TempleCon, is because Grant and Simon had us as the champions of that event. We were going to be there, we're going to run it well, we're going to be passionate about it and make it work. So we've basically scoured the community looking for people who are excited to run events for us at Captain Con, and we have also found people in the Cool Mini or Not community, Dark Age, a guy named Wade Vieira, who's a New England local who also plays War Machine. We know Wade well. He's going to run the Dark Age events for us, to include one of their events called March to Immortality. It's a tournament sponsored by them, which will be a prize to the Gen Con finals to include airfare.
Nice.
So that's one big event.
Nice.
We've also got a full structure of Warhammer 40,000 events. Sam Butler is our local Warhammer 40K representative. He's been running the events at PAX East, and he's a part of the New England Privateers now. He's fully on board with us. And then we've also got the Malifaux events. There's a Malifaux team tournament. I just reached out to Weird today with some more details of how they can get involved, potentially having a presence at the convention itself. X-Wing's going to be there. We're working on... we're close enough to having our stretch goal for board game room, a separate board game room, not just some tables in the main hall, that we are thinking about running some Netrunner events, which is really popular right now.
Right.
And the great thing about it is, those are things that are just known. We have champions, we have captains for those events, people that are going to run them for them. And as people step up, and we see the interest there, and we see the people donating, we can do surveys on our comments. We're doing surveys as the Kickstarter runs. When we finish up the Kickstarter cycle, we're going to send out surveys, and we'll be able to prioritize exactly what our backers are interested in seeing at the event. So we'll have a prioritized list for space of games that we need to run, which is great.
That's awesome. So I also saw, looking at this, because Craig's got me looking at the website now, you see. On the Kickstarter page, you talk about a Expeditions demo area, which is, I guess, a dedicated area for folks to come in and demo their games?
That's correct. So the Expedition demo area is a set up place where people can come in, run demos for games that are going to be at the convention, or if it's a startup, maybe another Kickstarter or something, they can put their game on the table there and have people get involved. Our demo area is actually fully sponsored now by the War Store.
Oh, great.
And Neil and the boys, they will be there, and they'll have their full booth set up in that demo area, and they'll be demoing some games as well.
Very good. Oh, it's always good to see the War Store at a convention. That's how you know you made it, Andrew. If the War Store comes to your convention, you're in. You've done it.
Yes, I did not have to bury any bodies or call in any favors. They were actually just interested in being there. So it's great.
Well, that's fantastic. So there's another thing. This is something. So I was reading this whole idea you have here about the Games and Gears Hobby Center. This, you got to tell us about this. This to me sounds brilliant, and I cannot believe this is not at more conventions.
Okay, so Games and Gears is a great hobby company, pretty new out of the UK. It's run by Sam Sedgey, close friend of ours. We've always known him at TempleCon. He was coming over to TempleCon real early, and we've developed a great relationship with Sam. His company makes some great products. They have brushes, hobby tools, brush soap. They've got all the high quality products that you'll need to paint your stuff, and it's a reasonable price. Check his stuff out, Games and Gears. And he basically stepped up immediately. He was our first backer, and he said, I want to put together a Games and Gears hobby area. At Captain Con, we'll have tables set aside for anybody at the convention that just wants to sit back, relax, build some models, paint some models, or just hang out and talk to people who are doing it and maybe get some tips on painting, etc. He's going to be providing all the materials, paints, brushes, etc., that you'll need to make that happen. So it's basically free publicity for him, so people see his products, use his products, and go, hey, this is pretty cool. And they get to enjoy that element of the hobby at a convention, which is something that you don't always see. And it's completely free. It's part of your badge. Everything included with one badge purchase, so it's really cool.
That is awesome. I mean, back when we had our gaming store, one of the things we do was we had a dedicated hobby area with store supplied paints, and people could come in and paint, and it became amazingly social. And whenever you go to a con, I'm always thinking it'd be great to have that, because it is so nice to just sit down and relax and work on a model, whether you're painting it or, the thing that happens all the time too is you're at a convention, you see some hotness there, excuse me, like a hot new model comes out, you want to grab it, buy it, slap it together, and try it on the table.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you go? You got to go to your room. So you see, I was just at Adepticon, and you see people sitting in the hall on a chair trying to balance their painting thing on their lap or something, or at a table in a corner, and they get kicked out of the restaurant because they're trying to paint, but they got this is great. You have a nice place you can go, sit down, all the equipment you need, because you don't want to pack it all if you're flying in from out of town or whatever, you don't pack it all in the airplane, and then relax and chat with people and ask them for tips. I just think that's a brilliant idea, and I'm really surprised it's not done more often.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's part of the hobby, especially people like me and Craig who have kids. I know you have kids too, Russ.
I do.
They're older though. We
now.
have young kids. So
right.
Sometimes the only part of the hobby that I get to enjoy on a regular basis is sitting down at my desk and painting, and it's usually by myself. So It would be nice to sit and compare technique and talk about little tips that people have and stuff. In a convention environment, that'd be very conducive to that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Now, another key to conventions, generally speaking, is people like their prize support.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys got anything lined up for prize support so far?
Oh, definitely. All the companies that are involved, the events that we know are going to happen, we're working prize support from those companies, both organized play kits, for example, the coin kits from Privateer Press. I've already mentioned the prizes for the Dark Age events. We're going to have product itself in our treasure chest for the Captain's Log system,
nice,
which I'll tell you a little bit more about. But yeah, there's going to be tons of prizes, and that's something that we're going to source separately outside of Kickstarter from the companies themselves. So the Captain's Log system is something that is based on the original concept that we had for War Machine and Hordes. We call Eternal War.
Yes,
and that
Endless
was
Battles. Craig, remember that one? Endless Battles.
Yep.
Eternal Struggle.
Yes, absolutely.
Never-ending.
Forever fighting.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Back in the day.
That's what
it's called.
I believe it's now. It's evolved into Iron Arena, but I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Privateer has Iron Arena everywhere now, and I'm pretty sure that was the genesis of that was all at TempleCon when you guys started that idea.
Yes, that was basically Matt Wilson asked me if we could change the name because he thought the IP was too close to some of the other stuff out there. So I said, yeah, sure. But it's the same system we use. We just changed the name to Iron Arena. Now we're changing the name again. It's now called the Captain's Log at Captain Con. Essentially, it's a casual play system that is going to include every game or demo or event that is going to happen at Captain Con.
That's just awesome.
That is
so.
fantastic.
We're going to have awards, which is basically going to be called coins. So you'll get a little ledger when you come in. You get your achievements available for the convention, and the achievements are going to be, it's experiential in nature. So everything that you do, win, lose, or draw, you're going to get coins for. And this is really what it comes from is it's really social engineering. So it's not only going to get you to try new things. For example, if there's a person there who's kickstarting a new game and they come to us and they say, hey guys, I'm doing this game. I really want to make sure I get some people involved. We'll say, sure, we'll put your game on the Captain's Log as an event that you'll get points for. People come to your event, they get points. You trade the points in for prizes. Additionally, when you're doing Captain's Log, anything that you do that involves a game itself, we always try to encourage people to meet new people. So when you play somebody from a different state or you play somebody from a different country, you're going to get extra points for that. Additionally, we've kind of worked this into the pledge level. of our system. So there's different levels of pledges, and the mate level and the captain level, those people are going to start off with some points in their captain's log. They'll have a few coins in their purse to begin with, so they've got a head start towards the big prizes.
Nice.
But it's really just a social system that encourages people to try everything at the convention, and they get prizes for it. So it's really
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, the captain's log, this whole idea, for those who haven't participated in the Iron Arena or something, I love this idea of basically, you go to conventions and so many of them, and rightly so because they're the most passionate players, are focused around tournaments, right? So you go there and it's all about the tournament and about competitive play. And back when early days of TempleCon, when Craig and I went, and you guys had this concept of the endless war of just, hey, just find someone to play a game with them. Doesn't matter if you win or lose, just throw down and have fun. And I thought it was great that there was actually like a formal system around it. It wasn't super formal, but it was like, hey, you record the battle, you get some points, win or lose doesn't matter, and hey, play somebody else, you get some more points, and then turn them in. It kind of adds some structure, adds some excitement, makes you want to play games, and it gives you a great way to be casual about it, though, too. So you add this to the sort of the hobby room, and it seems like it's just a really great, relaxing weekend to get away, work on your models, and play a few fun games. Or you got the tournaments to go to, too, if you're a competitive guy. But even the casual gamer is going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's crazy that people, hear more about the tournament scene, but every year at TempleCon, the growth that we experience in our War Machine and Hordes area is through casual play. The tournament numbers are pretty steady. We usually have about 100 tournament players, but at TempleCon this year, we had over 500 players for War Machine and Hordes, and only 100 of them were for tournament play. 400 plus were for casual play, and that's all Iron Arena stuff. Yep.
Nice. That is fantastic. So, so what are some of the? Well, let me ask you this first. I gotta figure out how you're gonna pull this off. So, I know you've got your, as you say, you've got a lot of experience in logistics. You've been involved in a lot of these conventions before. The date on this convention is what? July this year?
Correct. It's July. Let me just scroll up here. 25th through the 27th in Taunton, Massachusetts.
Yep.
So we've been to the venue. We've already signed the contract for the venue. We've looked at the space, and we have an idea of a floor plan that we're going to use. That floor plan is a pretty modular floor plan, so we can adjust as things evolve during the Kickstarter. Tables are going to be provided by the hotel, so we've taken that into account. We've got all the tabletops that we need. We've got all the terrain that we need. For the other games that slowly come in, as soon as they get mentioned as a possibility, we're working with the captain for that game system to ensure that they give us a clear line on the logistics required for them, what we're going to need to build in the meantime. So it's really a well-oiled machine. We understand how games work, all the logistics that go with the game, and then making it happen. The captain's log, for example, is a software system that we've got pretty much done already. We're just tweaking a few things. We've got a person writing the registration software for the website right now. Once Kickstarter's done, we'll go live with non-Kickstarter registrations for both events and just weekend badges. It's all in place. So, like I said, we've been working that network really hard. So we're excited about it. We're good at this stuff, and we want you all to have a great time. So we've got a plan. Nice.
Well, so to be clear, then this is where I was going, because I was like, you guys aren't just going to wait till this thing ends and then start. The gears are in motion, as it were.
Ooh, gears! I saw what you did there.
Yes.
Yes, the roller coaster is already halfway up the hill, and once the Kickstarter ends, the ride really begins.
I know, right? So, have you experienced? Most Kickstarter folks talk about how the month of the Kickstarter is just crazy insane and takes a lot more work than you expect, and supporting all the questions and making updates and stretch goals. Have you experienced that yourself?
We have a private Facebook group that we're looking at our phones probably every 20 minutes talking. We have a Google group with questions that Google group brings the captains for each game system in so they can be working their end, and we can be communicating with them. We have calls every Saturday night on Skype. We're constantly texting each other.
Nice.
It's pretty crazy.
Nice. So that's fantastic. So this sounds pretty awesome, Craig. Are you going to go to Captain Con 2014?
You put me on the spot right here.
I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I have already. Let me just say, I have backed the Kickstarter already. However, I will unfortunately not be able to attend because I'm traveling with my family to Europe that week. So that is my situation. However, I have backed the Kickstarter. Just saying.
Excellent.
Oh, okay.
I'm throwing some money at you.
So wow. Okay. So that's an intriguing combination of blows to throw at me. Okay.
Yes, no problem.
So I have not yet backed the Kickstarter, although I plan to do so.
So I did that, Andrew. I got you another.
I cannot attend, most likely because that is very, very close to my son's birthday. So it will be very difficult for me to sneak away one of the weekend days of his big birthday right before Gen Con. So as much as I would love to, I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I am still going to see how all the dates fall through. I mean, I can at least say I'm going to try. Russ has already given up.
No, but I have
Germany.
I have backed at the so I know a lot of our local friends are already excited about this, Andrew, and they were telling us all about it. Say, got to talk to Andrew because this looks like a lot of fun. There's a lot here to love, and I think this is going to be fantastic. Craig, what are some of the aspects of the con you think sound the most interesting to you?
I think I have to go with the captain's log as being the most interesting thing because of how much even a casual War Machine player like myself back in the day, how I enjoyed the old endless war element where you could just be playing and you're trying to do all kinds of wacky things and play on different boards and play different people and play at different times. And I can just imagine the minds that were behind that concept sort of expanding it to all of the different experiences you can have at a con, sort of gives it a structure. This is what, when we were talking about this over the weekend at Adepticon, it gives the con a structure or a potential structure that doesn't force you to do stuff, but at the same time, it gets you out there doing things. And I think that's really, really cool because I found myself playing way more games and doing way more things than I would have done just because we're gamers and we like to see our score go up.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it does, and then on top of that, having that sort of arcade element of being able to trade in your points for cool little gifts and, cool little items and things like that is just that much more gamerizing the whole experience to the point where, you want to put all these combos together. You want to get all your little achievements and just see where you can go and what you can do. And I think that is really the most intriguing element to me. Although, of course, as Andrew said, the hobby section is, I think, a really, really cool idea also.
Do you get captain's log points for building things in the hobby area?
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. If you go to a vendor at the hall and you buy something and you build it and paint it and you show it to us up at the front desk, we'll give you some points for it.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's promoting all the aspects. Again, when Craig and I used to run our own leagues and stuff, it was how do you promote all aspects of the hobby, right? How do you promote it's not just about games. It's not just about winning and losing. It's about building. It's about all those different things. And this just sounds like a great way to do that. I also love the idea that it's got built-in cross-promotion of other games, right? So, the guy who's going to get the most captain's log points is going to be not the single game guy, but maybe the guy who tries all these different games and plays other different tournaments and gets involved in other different events too. So I think you got a really nice way to kind of say, hey, this is a big tent, and we can have a lot of different people who like a lot of different kinds of games all in the same room.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Andrew, thank you for telling us all about Captain Con and giving us all the details on this. And I cannot wait. First of all, best of luck to finalizing your Kickstarter there.
Yeah, I really hope this achieves all of the success that it really deserves to, because it's an awesome idea. And if we can get the word out, I have no doubt this is going to be a huge, huge new presence in the New England convention calendar.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And just so folks know, you can check out Captain Con on both Kickstarter, CaptainCon.com, and then on Twitter, it's NE Privateers or myself, Hacksaw76, pimping myself to the gamer community at all turns. And if you cannot make it, all the stuff from Kickstarter will be fully transferable to friends or relatives that can make it, or, we'll ship you add-ons. We've got the coins for Captain Con, we get the patches, and then T-shirts is one of our stretch goals. So
awesome. Whatever
you can do to help us out, we appreciate it.
And don't forget, by the time this episode goes live, there'll only be a few days left on
That's
Kickstarter.
Right.
So make sure, if this sounds at all interesting to you, zip on over to Kickstarter to look for Captain Con, and you will find the Kickstarter all the information.
And not just if you can go. I mean, this is a really cool idea. If this gets successful here, who knows where else it might be able to get started next. So, throw in that $5 thing, get yourself a little bandana later on in the summertime. It'll be awesome.
don't forget, you're supporting an idea here, too, a concept around this idea of both competitive and casual gameplay, as well as the idea of, hobby and all the other really cool concepts that Andrew and the rest of your team there have built into this idea. So check it out. If you want this kind of thing to happen, they need your support. So thanks, Andrew. We'll back in a little bit to talk about more gaming in general. Let's just be honest.
Of course, gaming.
In a world where board gaming was king, in a time when Kickstarter ruled the web, when every day brought more and more games, now, more than ever, two men and a revolving third chair and a girl, a total fangirl, brought a shining light into the darkness so that all mankind would know what to buy. They are the D6 generation.
Hey, and now it's time for us to talk about our friends at Conquistador Games.
Conquistador. I love these guys. I love the New Science. They have all these great historical games. The New Science is by far my favorite because, engineer, studied physics for many, many years, and this game is just chock full of all that stuff. But also, Craig, Road to Enlightenment, a great historical game. Great stuff there. The artwork looks fantastic. The mechanics
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Taking control of some of the great personalities of the Age of Enlightenment. You're trying to basically build your nation and make your nation not the most powerful, not the most militarily competent, but the most enlightened nation of Europe.
Right. So you get these two fantastic games that really take these moments in history and just make them come alive, like the New Science, where you're, leading the Age of Enlightenment it's kind of funny, the Road to Enlightenment, then you have the Age of Enlightenment afterwards, which is the New Science. Then, though, they go to the future in the game tomorrow,
indeed.
And they throw history and civility and everything else just out the window, and now it's time to just, the world's overpopulated, what are you going to do? Let's kill some people for no apparent reason. And just, cut it down.
Oh, there's a reason. There's a good reason,
There's a very good reason. At what cost?
Kill a few to save the many.
Right. Kill a few million to save billions. Captain America had it all in the movie. It's all right there.
That's right.
Same thing.
It's right there.
So
right there.
You're exactly right. So these are great games, and CQ Games is a fantastic company, makes these really nice games. We had a blast playing their stuff over at Adepticon. Thank you so much to Conquistador for sending over those great games to play with our listeners and folks at Adepticon every year. Also, don't forget too the cool gaming extras they have over there. You can bling out all your Conquistador games, extra scientists, cool wooden tokens for tomorrow, just good stuff. So check them all out over at cqgames.com.
Conquistador Games.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakeland and check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com. This week's shout out goes to all of our supporters on Patreon. You too can support the show. Head to patreon.com/the D6 Generation. So this weekend I got to play a game, which doesn't sound particularly exciting, except that I haven't gotten to play a lot of board games lately. And the game we played was Galactic Strike Force, which Russ picked up while he was at PAX East, which I very sadly missed this year due to other work, real world responsibility type stuff. But he picked it up at PAX, so it made me kind of sort of feel like I got a little bit of the perks of going to the show. And he hadn't played this before, although he was familiar with it, and I wasn't familiar with it at all. So we broke it out on a Saturday night, him and me and his brother, and we decided to play this game. And, I started off thinking, okay, let's see if this game is any good, and let's, maybe I'll write a review for this, and started off, and we go through, and it's that first tough play around where nobody knows the rules, so every last thing that you do, you have to look it up. And, can you do this? I don't know. Can you do that? I don't know if you can do that. So there's a little bit of are we into this game yet? Because, you have to look up so much, you can't get carried away with just the fun of it. Not too far into it, though. We had the gist of the rules down, and there wasn't so much that we had to look up anymore. And we just started having such a ridiculously good time. Just really, truly enjoying ourselves. And somewhere along the way, I thought, I'm not writing up anything about this. I'm not reviewing this. I'm going to write up how darn fun this was. And for the first time in a long time, I just had a really good time playing a game, hanging out with my brother-in-law and my husband, just in the kitchen, drinking sodas and killing time on a Saturday while the kids had a sleepover downstairs. And we just play games and had fun with it and enjoyed it. And because it's a co-op game, you're not trying to beat each other. You know, you're trying to work to save the galaxy as a team, which makes it even more fun because nobody really loses unless you all lose, and then it's okay because you don't feel like you really screwed up. But it was fun, and we pick characters not based on, you know, okay, if we have this type of person and that type of person and the other type of person, we're more likely to be able to win because we didn't know enough about the game to know what to pick. So we picked characters, or Russ did, based on who we thought we'd like to play, and I ended up playing a smuggler, which is cool because then I got to channel my inner Han Solo. And I ended up with a ship that was loaded for bear, which had nothing but weapons, like 0 shields and 14 power for weapons. So I was all about blowing up all the things. And it was just so much fun to get to remember why I like to play board games and why board games are fun and why board games are important. You kind of forget when life gets in the way and life gets too busy and you get too focused on the stuff that you have to focus on as a grown-up. You know, we all have grown-up responsibilities. We have houses, we have cars, we have kids, we have jobs, we have bills to pay, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you get kind of bogged down in that and you're so focused on that you forget to just sit back and relax and enjoy some of the little things. And for me, this weekend, the little thing happened to be Galactic Strike Force. And we enjoyed it so much that when my brother-in-law showed up to pick the kids up from their sleepover on Sunday, we played another round. And that time it was even more fun because we really knew the rules and we were like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Played the same characters we played the first time and won because we are awesome and had just a fantastic time. So I guess it's a reminder. It was a reminder for me that sometimes you just need to put everything else aside and don't play a game because you have to win and have the best strategy and you know, be the best player, but just play a game to sort of forget about everything else, to pretend for a second that you're a smuggler trying to save the galaxy from technivores. And if you're really lucky, not only will you win, but you'll have a really good time.
Hey, I think that's the sound I was looking for. It's our friend Vic the Viking and all of our friends over at The War Store.
The War Store, bringing the war to your door for a decade and more.
Indeed, they have been. Our friends at The War Store are really one of the best miniature wargaming websites out there for just collecting all the stuff you would need to buy as a miniature wargamer. They have
it's craziness.
It all. And they have a lot of the hybrid games there now too, like Super Dungeon Explorer and all the expansions there as well. They got the new Batman miniature game, which is really the first place. I'm sure the news was elsewhere, but it was the first place I saw the news about the new Batman miniature game. Craig, have you seen those models? They look crazy cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Batman fan, you've got to check it out.
You really do. Some of the best Batman sculpts I've ever seen. Great historical models, of course, Flames of War. They've got any miniature Spartan games. The War Store's always been a big carrier of Spartan games. If you have trouble finding that stuff, the War Store's where you want to go for that. Just pretty much if it's a miniature war game, they've got it. They got all the supplies, they got all the paints, they got all the primers, hard to find stuff, army painter, you name it, they've got it. Our friends at the War Store, the place, great navigation, and a cute little Viking. How can you go wrong?
You can't go wrong without that one. That Viking is exactly what you need.
Exactly what you need. And also be sure to follow them on the Twitter for all the latest stuff over there at the War Store, literally on Twitter. The War Store!
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute. Welcome to another edition of the Hollywood Minute. I'm your host, Rafe Hollywood Granger. Tonight's weather here in New Hampshire was one of those chilly beginning of summer days. It was cold, it was damp, you needed to wear a coat, and it's a real bummer. And, the damp got into your bones, and it was not fun. Tonight's beverage is a little bit of red wine. I don't know where it comes from, somewhere in Spain. And and that is the food and weather report for the Hollywood Minute. Now, on to more exciting things. I'd like you to go out and Google the name Darcy Oakes or Magician on Britain's Got Talent. Now, some of you may know this and some of you may not know this, but one of my hobbies is doing prestidigitation, magic. And I always enjoyed doing magic that required actual skill. There's two types of magic. There are sleight of hand tricks, where you take a normal deck of cards, normal sponge balls, whatever, and through sleight of hand you perform your magic trick. And of course that takes presentation skills as well. Then there are what are called self-working tricks or gimmick tricks, and those have some sort of gimmick to them, and that enables you to perform the trick. For example, I'm able to take a normal deck of cards, have you pick a card, and be able to reveal that card to you. But if you used a shaved deck or a gimmicked deck, then you'd be able to take that card and manipulate the deck a certain way to enable you to pull the card out. Neither is wrong nor right. It takes skill to do a self-working trick or a gimmicked trick as well, because it takes skill in the presentation. But I always kind of value, and I've always liked, working on actual true sleight of hand. And this particular magician, when you watch him on Britain's Got Talent, he comes from this background as well. And what's interesting, too, is there's kind of a new vein of magic along the veins of the David Blaine style, where he does his street magic, and he does these really kind of, I don't want to say grotesque. They're not all grotesque. I mean, he's a very skilled magician, obviously. But, you know, it's more this like shock kind of punk type of trick versus kind of an older style trick where you're just doing simple coin tricks, simple card tricks that kind of just amaze without a shock value. David Blaine also does a lot of escapism type of tricks, and that was never my personal fan favorite. So anyway, this magician on Britain's Got Talent, he kind of hails from the school that Rafe appreciates his magic. I watched his magic routine on Britain's Got Talent, and even though I know theoretically how these tricks are performed, I was blown away. He did an unbelievable job. So if you have any interest in magic at all, go check it out, Britain's Got Talent. His name is Darcy Oakes. Can't miss it. It's just happened, April 2014. Really cool. Now, on to our Dark Heresy role-playing game. It's now been episode 3. And we had a blast. We infused some new characters. We infused Megan, who is Jeremy's wife, and we infused Brian Ahern. The other players are Old Andy and Dave, and of course Jeremy. And this is not Sherpa Jeremy. This is new Jeremy. And we're playing using the Savage Worlds rules in the Dark Heresy setting. And we're having a blast. Episode 3 was a simple episode in that it was a simple find the pieces of the treasure and connect the dots and solve the riddle. So they needed to infiltrate a chaos lair to discover the chaos plot upon the planet. And some of the highlights are Jeremy's character has an heirloom. It's a ring of invisibility that he believes is invisible, causes him to go invisible, but of course it does not. It's just a ring, and he doesn't become invisible at all. There was a very funny role-playing moment where he's infiltrating the bar where the Chaos Cell cult is down below a trap door, the room that they have to infiltrate. And so he's sneaking in during broad daylight through the back window. Everybody can see him, and he thinks he's invisible, getting his way into the trap door. And so what ends up happening is due to his sneaking in plain view, he ends up of course, creating a distraction, which then is what actually enables them to sneak down the door. My other highlight is Old Andy is playing an angry Arbite, and so he was just kind of there was the bartender he just charmed. He just rolled super high, even with his negatives, and he just ends up charming the socks off of her. And even though she's practically fawning all over him and giving him anything he wants, he's just treating her like crap, basically. So he was role-playing his angry Arbite self. That was a highlight. Dave is the psyker of the group. He didn't get to do too much psychic powers, but he's the kind of glue that keeps the group together. It keeps them focused, keeps them going on what they're doing. So he's kind of acting as the leader. He did a great job leading everybody around. Brian plays two types of characters. He either plays the Dwarven Fighter, of which, when he plays D&D, what ends up happening is he waits 45 minutes for his turn to come, rolls a 1, misses, waits another 45 minutes, next turn, rolls a 3, misses, waits 45 minutes, next turn, rolls a 5, i.e. when he's a fighter, it seems like he never, ever hits. But his other type of character that he likes to play is sort of a non-combatant, a scribe type of character. And so this particular character that he plays this time is an archaeologist. And he just, whenever he plays a non-combatant, I don't know what it is, but it brings out the role-playing in him, and he just had these, like, fantastic scientific type of things where they basically discover the chaos artifact, and he just goes into a nerd frenzy over how old it is, and he's role-playing that, and it was just the highlight of my evening. Megan's character, I couldn't resist. I put her in a ninja cat suit. So she took the ball with that and ran with it, all hips, all boobs, zippers, everywhere. And so, she played her character. And she is a rogue, so a rogue type of character. So she played it to the T. It was perfect. She's the one that actually discovered the trapdoor and slunk her way down in there, along with Brian, who played the archaeologist character. And I think that was everybody. So it was really good mission. Really good time. I'm looking forward to episode 4. They did a great job. Savage World again we did 2 dramatic tasks. They had a good combat scene. They were bugged, and so they led a full team of stormtroopers back into the hotel. They successfully evaded that, and meanwhile, Brian's character had like a MacGyver skill, and so he rigged grenades, and he ended up wasting 3 of the stormtroopers while they were roof hopping across and getting away. So it was a good adventure. They had a fun time. I'm looking forward to episodes 4, 5, and 6 where they wrap it up. As far as my GMing techniques, I do have a tendency to hide the ball too much, and I have not been doing this in this Dark Heresy setting, where I'm always thinking the clues I reveal will be so blatant and so boring that they'll be bored. And now what I'm doing is I'm painting big red flaming arrows to say, like, go here. They're not exactly railroaded, but the arrows are just pointing and letting them know exactly what they need to do. And what that's accomplishing is a couple things. Number one is we're getting the amount of time that's supposed to happen in a night done, with time to eat pizza and time to drink beer, and the characters are still having a blast, even though the clues are not so incredibly hard to find, in my opinion. But they're hard for them because, of course, they don't know the puzzle. So, and all in all, it's a good time. And then we talked a little bit about Numenera, which I am just totally enamored with. We're going to do a breakout session on May 6th. Megan's going to run a one-timer, and then I'm going to see about seeing if the group's interested in a campaign once the Dark Heresy campaign ends. So that's what I've got going on. Again, feel free to check out the randomly updated Jimmy Django blog, although I got to tell you, with appearing in the Hollywood Minute all the time, this is ending up in my mind what I wanted Jimmy Django to be, which is just, hey, what's up with Rafe? What's going on with Rafe? Still on the fence about Gen Con. 90% looking like I am going, but I'm not sure on the days. Looks like Andy and I are going to road trip out there, but I haven't 100% nailed that down in my brain. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, the D6G Hollywood, or my email, which is Hollywood at the D6 Generation. Until next time, happy gaming.
Hey guys, now as promised, here is the results of Malifaux Haiku.
Wow. Okay, so we had 50 people send us haiku.
Which is crazy.
And that's just crazy.
Most
and we thought, we should probably just, read some of the best. But then we thought, wait a minute, everybody out there tried their hardest. They tried. They put in the time and effort. So the least we can do is put in some time and effort too.
And read them all. So here we're going to read through all 50 haikus. Now the good news is haikus are short.
Yep.
And then as we read through them, Craig and I are going to make little notes about our favorites. And here's what we're going to do. I will pick a favorite. Craig will pick a favorite. Each of those individuals will win one of the 3 contest boxes. Then, and the deck of cards. Then, we will randomize amongst the 50 winners for a third winner, completely random. So basically the good news here is, regardless of taste or quality, One person out of 50 could randomly win a Malifaux starter box and a deck of cards. But the first two will get picked on quality, theoretically, if Craig and I have any quality sense, which, is debatable.
which is debatable.
Right. So here we go. So I'm going to start. I'm going to read Benjamin's entry. Here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is a haiku, and the deal with the haiku is 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. And I like the last sentence to tie to the first sentence, but that's just me. It's the thing. So here we go. Benjamin's entry. Here we go.
Yep.
Through the breach I go. What waits for me there, you ask? Not bad thing. Oh, I moved it up. Let me try that again.
This is going to take forever, Russ.
Through the breach I go. What waits for me there, you ask? Now bad things happen. Pretty good. I like
Very
it.
nice. Okay.
All right, Craig, who do you got?
From Jeffrey Hanna, we have Gate of Azure Fire. The world's destiny shaped by those gone through the breach.
Nice. Chris Hodge submits Corruption of Souls. Can't resist lifeless doxies. Guild guards grabbed my stones. Love it. What do you got, Craig?
Okay, now I have Rob Arcangeli. Your crew is in ruin. The hunt for soul stones is done. I flipped a red joker.
Ooh, I like that one.
I like that one too.
Jeff Alberta says, a silent midnight. Sudden greed, violence, pain. Rewards, power, death.
Ooh. All right. Vincent Salomon says, blindly hunt the dead. Can any withstand her blade? Return to the grave.
Ooh, I like that one. Gilvin Blight writes, too many minis. Malifaux looks really cool. I can make room for some. I like that one.
There you go.
Nice.
Brock Polson says, reveal a card. 9. Wind rustles plastic foliage. 9 is not enough.
Shannon White says, hot wind cuts the night. Justice slices undead flesh. Screams, howls, ride the wind. Ooh, I like
Ooh,
that.
very
Yeah,
nice.
That's very poetic.
Okay, so let me see. Jeremy Haugen says, the card drawn quickly, the soul leached inside a stone, the voice yells, you cheat!
All right, Terry, I'm going to remember you for this one. Terry Bailey says, Malifaux, it said, is large, like Russ Wakeland's head. Best from A to Z. My wife just yelled, he wins! Yeah.
Was that Terry?
That was Terry, yes.
Okay. Christopher Dick says, Malifaux Dreamer. Or can it be my soul's dream? I play with monsters.
Ooh, I like that one.
Oh.
Eric Strack says, through the breach it sings of power, fame, and fortune, Soulstone's siren song. Ooh, a lot of alliteration in that one, too.
There you go. Nice. Andy Brown says, 10 thunders unheard. The breach finally reveals a storm of shadows. Oh, I like that one.
These are also good. That's why we had at least one random winner, because it's really hard to pick. There's some great ones here. PJ Cole Regis says, Ronin Oathbreaker, I cast thee to Malifaux. Reclaim your honor. Ooh, that's a good one. That's
cool.
a good one.
There's a lot of theme going on here. You guys are really capturing the theme, which is nice.
Quality theme going on here. Yeah.
Chris Proctor says, so many wedgies. My only friend, defend me. Lord Chompy Bits, kill. All righty.
That's pretty good. John Menes says, Bio life ain't... Oh, let me try that again. Bayou life ain't bad. Gremlins are tougher than man. Bayou death's their fate. Ooh,
nice. Okay, so Brad Hakes sent us 3, Brad. Sorry.
Only pick one.
The first one is Lady J is blind. Death marshals will get their man. The guild is justice.
Ooh, I like that one. Let's see. Hind ADC, I guess I pronounced that, says, my life left behind, soul stones I seek for power. Through the breach I go. I like that one.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Martin Knight, Goblins Rising. Charge! Oblivion hordes now feast. Goblins Rising. Burp.
Love it. Love it. That was Martin. Monique Cummings writes in, Nightmares feast on souls. Spend the stones before the flip. The Black Joker scoffs.
Ooh, that's good.
I like it.
Timothy Richardson says, go through the breach, soulstones and riches await, but bad things happen. I like getting the bad things happen.
Yeah, I know. Snuck
tag in there.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
Good. That's good. Richard Jones says, he sent us a couple, but I'm going to read the first, Richard. Sorry. City drenched in blood, steamworks and magics unleashed, silent as its sin.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Timothy Franklin sent us a sound file.
All right, let me see if I can play it. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm trying it out here. And here we go.
Deviled kidneys and kedgeree, The perfect start to a hard day is mad science. And now then, let's see if there's any mention of my escapades in the Malifaux record. Guild Marshal murdered. Good, good. Fire at the orphanage. About time, too. They had it coming. What's this? Here we are. A running gun battle through the streets of Malifaux started yesterday after never-born terrorist Lilith, the self-styled mother of monsters, deposited a sack full of prospector heads on the steps of Town Hall. Yes, yada yada. Dozens fatally wounded. Nothing about me. Nothing. Why does she get all the credit? Mother of monsters, I raise the dead. She raises demons in diapers. Why, I have half a mind to... Wait a minute. Do you know, I think that was a haiku. Mother of monsters, I raise the dead. She raises demons in diapers. Oh, I forget how these liberal arts things are supposed to work. I know. I shall consult the poetry department at Transmortis University. Evil tenure has to be good for something. Maybe the funny pages will cheer me up. Ah, Garfield, you are a very evil kitty.
That was pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to make a note here. However, Tim, that was a little more than a haiku, but still, that was still pretty awesome. I don't know what that does, but that was awesome.
Now, Tim, sadly, if we choose you, we will get pilloried, and
we will.
And people will find us and kill us.
So while that was an excellent presentation,
in every way, shape, and form, and I enjoyed the haiku, we're only going to be able to judge the haiku itself.
Right. So
okay, Russ, onward and upward.
So Chris Zelbley says, this is his very first contest entry and possibly first haiku in his life. So we'll see what happens here. Lady Justice arrives. Gunslingers make bad things happen. Night breaks with vengeance. Ooh, see, a lot of people using that bad things happen. Well done.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Ian Mann. Dark surrounds your bed, spinning nightmares in your head, eyes blurry with dread. Oh, see, a couple of these guys are trying to get in some rhyming too. I like that.
I like it. Okay, that's tricky in a haiku.
It is tricky in a haiku.
Jason Turner says, the landscape is split. Darkness spills forth from the breach. Who will mind the gap?
All right. Alexander Gonison, again, 2 haikus. You get the first one for free.
Yep.
All is super well. Have the game in the bag. Oh no, Black Joker.
Nice.
I've been there.
All right, here we go. Christopher says, line them up like rails.
Rakowski. I mean, honestly, you got to give the guy his name.
Sorry, Chris. Line them up like rails. I'll plow through zombie hookers like a Russian train. Okay. Only a Malifaux player could understand the context of that reference.
There you go. Charles Maynard says, nightmares creep closer. Peacebringer getting empty. Can you cheat your fate? Oh, see, Peacebringer, the name of the gun. Nice. I like it.
Eric Fortner says, ashes to ashes. Zombie hookers start squishy. I grind them to dust. There's another zombie hooker reference.
There we go. A lot of hookers.
I like it.
Rob says, Soulstone hunters die. Shadows and roots ensnare you. Your blood feeds my brood.
Ooh, that's
a little Neverborn reference there.
There you go. Ben Marshallkowski says, ashes on the wind. Litter both sides of the rift. Souls of Malifaux.
All right. Neil Taylor. Justice swings her blade. I evade. Head still in place. Is it luck or fate?
Nice.
Cool.
Andrew Batter says, face horrors and woes. I've got the stones to do it. But tell me, do you? Nice.
Okay. Aaron Leskowski says, my only love is lost. Carry tears in the cold rain. Vengeance will be mine.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of theme in there.
Got a bunch here from Jason. I'm not going to try to pronounce Jason's last name. Craig, you want to give that a go?
Proviskian.
Yeah, a lot of consonants, not too many vowels. But here we go. So
there's 2 at the end.
Jason, here we go. Your first entry. Raven hair tumbles, distracts me. I miss my shot. My own blood, she smiles. Well, that's a good one. I like that one.
All right. Rick Lapointe, a listener, sends episode 1A. I like that. Okay. And this is his first ever intro. So ready? Here we go. Rasputina's breath as winter upon my soul chills me to the bone.
Ooh, I like that.
Very nice. Themey.
Yeah. Ron Obringer submits, 2 sisters we are. Watch us dance, ashes and blood. It's over in a glance. I like that.
Cool. Nicodemus Jacobs has one of my favorite names of all time. So way to go, Nicodemus.
Right.
A scary laugh sounds, blood, snow, ice blanket the dead. Rasputina smiles. So what? It's like the Rasputina ones are all,
they're all
lumped together here.
Eamon Duffy submits a breach in the world, desperate for magic stones. Once more into it. I like that one. The tie of the
Nice.
movie reference. I like it.
There you go.
Craig?
All right. Jake Warren's nightmares come to life. Stalk the streets with faded cheats. Never born to die. Ooh, spooky.
Here we go. And Shay Wallace has sent in Red Chapel strikes one. A short, sharp scream, then silence. Seamus strikes again.
Ooh, Seamus. Oh, my God. Seamus.
Eric, don't send me email.
Yeah. I don't think that was Eric.
No,
Jacob
Eric,
Anderson says, just step through the breach. If it's a new life you seek, Malifaux awaits. Back to the beginning.
There you go. Jacob Irby send in the dead fall again. The righteous stand guns readying. It's the law's time. A lot of sense through me. It's the law's time by Jacob. Thank you, Jacob.
Nice. Zach says, Malifaux is fun. Who should play it today? You. Craig wrote for this one. I didn't, though, but thank you.
Good effort. Joe Vass. What do you think, Craig?
That's Vespasiani. He's he's a comedian. Come on, we've listened to his CD.
Joe V, right, we have you. Sorry, Joe. Greedy soul scheming, ignore the purple dice bag, hand of shuffled fate. I love it. That's actually, I like that one.
That's very nice.
That's very nice.
I like it. Okay. This is Eric Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Perdita fires once. Red Joker in the Gunsmoke. Can't cheat death today. I like that one because I faced it more than once.
I like that one because it's my favorite caster.
Yeah.
And then Magnus Lieberg writes in, a darkened tunnel, faint fragrance. What? A darkened tunnel.
What?
Faint. Let me try this again. Stop it. You're messing me up. All right. A darkened tunnel, faint fragrance of ancient death. Fracture between worlds. That's actually a really good one. I screwed up twice. That's really
yeah. Despite your screwing it up.
So that is all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you who my favorite one is, Craig, right now. Ready?
Yeah, okay.
My favorite one of all of them, because I read through them earlier, was in fact Eric Anderson's. I love Perdita Fires Once, Red Joker in the Gunsmoke, Can't Cheat Death Today, because it's my favorite master, and I love the combination of the Can't Cheat Death and game mechanics, slip it in there, and everything else. Plus, he also ties in the first sentence, Perdita Firing Once, to the Can't Cheat Death Today pit. All comes together. So,
very nice.
That is my choice. So, Eric, you are one of the wieners.
Oh, you're a wiener.
There we go. Who's your choice, Craig?
My choice, I believe, is going to be, I've got to find it again. There's 50 of them, guys. Bear with me.
That's right.
Where are you? Because of my chosen faction. No, I can't do that. Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I like it.
Hey,
okay. Andy Brown. Congratulations, Andy Brown. 10 thunders unheard. The breach finally reveals a storm of shadows.
Nice. So Andy Brown is our second winner.
Yep.
Now we have to determine our third winner out of our 50 entrants. So here's what we're going to do, Craig. Do you have a D100 lying about?
Give me one
2D10
second.
or a D2D20s?
Wait.
Craig is going to roll. If it is over 50, we will roll again. If it is under 50, we'll count that many emails down, and that will be the winner. And if it's one of the already winners, we'll roll again. That's the rules right here.
I have 2D10.
All right, Craig, I have explained the rules. If it's over 50, you got to roll again. Go ahead and roll.
I never went away. I heard you the whole time. I don't need to hear you twice, for the love of all that's holy.
All right.
Okay.
Hit
Ready?
it.
So here we go.
I heard it.
60.
Okay, don't bother rolling. Yeah, 68's too high. I thought you heard me. Roll again.
What? Okay, wasn't listening. I thought we were going to give to... fine, whatever. Okay, 1.
Yep.
2.
So 12.
1,
2, 3,
so now
4,
we have to count.
6,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 12! Rick LaPointe!
That's what I get. Rick LaPointe is our random
the listener
winner.
since episode 1A!
Yes.
Huzzah!
Rick's was Rasputina's breath is Winter Upon My Soul Chills Me to the Bone. Excellent entry, Rick.
I
and
liked
a lucky
it.
winner.
It was one of the ones that I asterisked. It was one of my finalists also. So well done, Rick, all around, and thanks for sticking with us since the very bitter
beginning.
Really poorly
Episode
recorded
1A,
beginning.
back when we had 2 episodes because 4 hours seemed like too long for one.
It seemed like way too much. Who would listen to 4 hours?
4 hours of a podcast. So, guys, we're going to respond to your contest entries to let you know you were winners. And we will wait till after this episode airs, though, so you won't get a preview.
But thank all 50 of you for writing in these haikus. It's not easy. We understand that. And a lot of you went out on a limb, and we really do appreciate it. It's super exciting to have this much involvement in our little contest.
That's right. So thank you guys very much for entering, and listen for a new contest coming soon.
Yay!
This is the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com.
Hey, welcome back. And now it's time for us to talk about our friends over at Game Salute, where they're taking over the gaming world one Kickstarter at a time.
It's awesome. Indeed, do. And you know what's great about Game Salute is they help make sure that small game developers can get their stuff published via Kickstarter and other methods. And the great thing is not only do they get them out on Kickstarter, but they also get them into store shelves. They help you through all the trials and tribulations of doing that. Then all these great games that they produce are also available online on their website. Craig, I don't know if you knew this. They have an entire store over there at Gamesalute.com. You head on over there, you click buy games, buy online. You can also buy local. It'll tell you where the local stores are that carry these games. But if you don't have a local store, go buy online. And the best part is, don't forget to put in the D6G code. And that code this time is D6G146.
146. It's a very intense, confusing code.
It is. And that code will get you all kinds of crazy discounts. They change from time to time per episode, so you have to check when you go to the GameSuit site. It's a great deal there. But again, GameSuit, all kinds of great games. Craig, what kind of games are circulating right now on their front page of awesome hotness?
Well, they've got Seven Swords, which of course is an awesome samurai-themed game.
Yeah, I love the cover art on that game. It looks fantastic.
The Big Time, because, everybody loves theater.
Oh, yes.
Troll Hunt, which looks really cool. Looks almost like a Survivor kind of game. And our favorite currently at the moment would be, I believe, Area 1851.
That's right. Cowboys and Indians and aliens in Area 1851.
That's right.
So check
and
them all out.
They do how many hundreds of Kickstarters, over 150.
That's right.
So
that's what we learned.
100.5-ish.
That's right. So check them all out. Head on over to Gamesalute.com for all the latest from our friends at Game Salute.
The D6 generation. Not as smart as Yoda, but not as dumb as Jar Jar Binks.
Wise, the announcer is. Haru!
Welcome back. And now we would really like to discuss, a lot of what happened in Chicago and what we did out there in Chicago. And more importantly, using that as a launching off point for other conversations and little mini reviews of the things that we discovered and that have been sort of causing a lot of buzz around gamerdom in the last week or so, and give you our take on what we saw.
Exactly.
So first, of course, there was Lords of Waterdeep, which we already talked about.
We just want to start. Let's start with Friday. So Friday out, we were on the plane and we're waiting in the airport. And we're getting ready to get on the plane, and you're like, all you're doing is waiting around. So I break up my iPhone, I fire up Lords of Waterdeep, and pass over to Craig and say, "Your move." Basically,
he did do that actually.
And so we just
took me a minute to be like, I don't understand your strange phone. And then we were on a roll.
We were. It played great. It's easy to learn. Really great imitation. I want to think it's like $5 for the iOS game, which I guess feels like a lot of money, but when you think about the fact the board game's like $50,
that's ridiculous.
I think
it's a ridiculous sum of money.
It is. So yeah, if you're a Lords of Waterdeep fan, Andrew, you played Lords of Waterdeep?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have not played it with the expansion yet, but I have it. I need to get it out.
There you go. So it's good, definitely a good one for the phone whilst you're traveling. Handles up to I believe the full 5 players in pass and play mode with the phone, so it's great while you're traveling. You just bring it out, and you got a whole board game there. So we did that.
Cool.
So now one of the problems, Craig, we had was we had to leave a little late on Friday due to both of our schedules.
We did.
So we didn't get in till like 6 or something?
Yeah, we landed at like 6, and our friend Matt from the Nerd Herders was in a lull in his gaming, and it was awesome because he texted me literally as we were landing and went, "Hey, my game just ended. What are you guys doing?" And we said, "We just landed." And he said, "I'll be there in 5."
Right. And so there he was.
Got us from the airport. But by the time we got our luggage and everything, it was 7.
Mm-hmm.
We were hungry.
Right.
And we were in Chicago.
Right. So basically, I had been talking about a Chicago deep dish pizza the entire month, really, let's be honest. So I was like, we got to get that first.
More than that.
And since last year, I think we went. So we went to our current favorite is, Craig, right? So Giordano's, is that can I pronounce that right?
I would call it our regular.
Yes, our regular
place.
stop.
The place that we normally go. Not leastly because it's, I think I just made up that word, because it's the closest one to Adepticon.
Now, Andrew, you've been to Adepticon at least once, or perhaps more often.
Yes,
and
3 times.
Do you have a dog in the whole which pizza place is best fight?
I have never been big on pizza, and
what?
These days, all I eat is like a thin crust veggie.
What? Thin crust veggie?
Dude, I will say I like thin crust pizza.
I am on an austere diet, but there is one thing I cannot resist. It is pizza and Chicago deep dish. So those who are not in the know, okay, I'm just gonna take a moment here to explain that.
Yes,
that,
you take a moment.
That place called Pizzeria Uno, which claims to have Chicago deep dish pizza, just no, wrong. That is not how they do it in Chicago. It's like going to Florida and expecting to have New England clam chowder. It's just not going to happen, so don't even try, okay? If you're not in Chicago and you're ordering Chicago deep dish pizza, whatever you're getting, that's not it, okay? When you're at a place like Giordano's, what happens is the crust does go down in a deep pan, but the crust is not super thick. It goes all the way down in a crust, so think of like a pie, like a real actual pie where it's thin crust down to a deep pan. Then they put the toppings and cheese on the bottom, right on top of the crust. And then on top of that, they slather the whole thing in tomato sauce. So when it comes out to you, it looks like a giant pie covered in tomato sauce. Right? Mm-hmm. And it is, most of the depth is actually not crust, but cheese. So it's like a giant slice of cheese with some toppings underneath, a thin crust, and tomato sauce on the top. And it is awesome. But as you can imagine, something that thick takes a while.
And it
to
only
cook.
vaguely tastes like pizza.
It really does. It's its own food group.
Taste.
It shouldn't even be called pizza. They do call it pizza. They don't call it. They actually say pizza on the wall and everything. But you're right. It's like a whole different food group, really, to me. But here's the thing: as you can imagine, something that thick takes a while to cook. And in fact, they tell you right on the sign outside, right on the menus, it is 45 minutes from the time you order it to the time they can finish the pizza, just because of how long it cooks. So it's a long wait. And while we were waiting, and first of all, it also was mobbed because, Adepticon Friday night. So while we were waiting, we waited. We finally sat down. Then we ordered the pizza. So we had to wait. So now at this point, like we got there at 7. It was like a 40-minute wait. So now it's like 20 till 8. It takes 45 minutes for your pizza to come. Now it's like quarter till 9, and they got to eat your pizza. So as you can imagine, we didn't get actually to the Adepticon itself until later in the evening. But as we're sitting there, we're noticing these people get seated, and their pizza's coming like 3 minutes later. We're like, how is this happening, right? And then
actually, we got angry.
We did. We were like, are they
how dare they
cheating? And then we figured out the trick in Chicago is you call.
We didn't figure it out.
Yeah,
credit where credit is due.
Adam told us.
Yes,
local Chicago native and D6G patron Adam explained to us that what you do is you call ahead and say, "Hey, I'm going to be by. Can you put the pizza in the oven for me? Here's what I want." And you basically, when you get there and you ask to be seated, you tell them you've called ahead. They take your ticket to the table, and then it just comes out when the pizza's ready. This is brilliant. So
brilliant, genius.
Yes. So that was our fooding on Friday. That was our Friday food. And then, by the time we got to Adepticon, right, Craig, it was really late.
Yes, it was. It was between 9 and 10. I think.
So things were winding down. We were, of course, tired because it was a travel day. So we wandered about with a bit and looked longingly at the various games going on. And as people were winding down, we're like, tomorrow is the day. But we did wander around a little bit. I walked through the private press area, took lots of cool pictures of all the terrain there, checked out some of the team armies were being assembled in the evening the night before for the Saturday team tournament for 40K.
Amazing things.
Always amazing to check those out. So we got a little wandering around Friday, but Friday was kind of a wash. It was mostly get there and eat pizza was pretty much the only thing that happened there.
Yeah. Yep. And we had one leftover piece of pizza, and it stayed in its box in our hotel room all weekend long.
Yes, because
normally it would have been eaten, but for some reason, none of us were. There were 3 of us there, and none of us wanted to be the one who ate the piece of pizza.
Well, that and also though that our local friends and Matt kept driving us back out for more food, so we kept going out to great restaurants the entire weekend long. Which more about that later. So then Saturday comes. Now here's the other dilemma. So as we're on the plane playing Waterdeep. We are faced with the ultimate geek dilemma, which is we are flying out to Chicago for clearly one of the major gaming events of the year that you have limited time at. And yet it is opening weekend of one of the most anticipated movies in geekdom of the entire summer, which, of course, is Captain America Winter Soldier.
We were torn. We were torn.
You know, because you already kind of heard about it, there's some major spoiler stuff going on, so you don't really want to wait until after opening weekend and not see it. So we had to somehow see this film. But we didn't want to mess up our whole day schedule. So then we had the brilliant idea. I don't know, how did this idea come about? I even forget how we figured this out.
Well, first we were going to do it on Friday night.
Yes, but then we got into
it just the time didn't work out. So we were talking about trying to do it Saturday night.
Right.
And then we went to breakfast at Egg Harbor.
Oh, yes. Excellent choice.
Great. Egg Harbor, excellent choice within walking distance of the hotel.
Yep.
Very affordable, delicious breakfasts. When they give you what you order. And when they don't, they give it to you for free. So that's okay.
Not that Craig and I are all about our food, but we're all about our food.
Not that we're all about food. But I've traveled around the world so much that at this point, my first thing is looking for good food.
Right.
So it wasn't me. I know it wasn't me. It might have been Matt or you, but the three of us were having breakfast and somebody said, it was Matt because he was looking on his phone and he went, well, there's a show, starting in 20 minutes. And we were like, wait a minute. Because when we got in, the theater was ridiculously packed Friday night. We knew that it was going to be just as packed Saturday night. And so
but I think it was 9:30 on a Saturday morning. Right.
Yeah, Matt was like, oh, it's playing now. And Russ was like, oh my God, that's genius. And I was like, let's do it.
Right.
So we went and we saw it that morning. Yay. Right. There were like 10 people in the theater total.
It was brilliant because, of course, all the gamers are passed out from Friday night. It was brilliant.
It was genius. So we went to the 10:30 a.m. show.
No, 9:30 a.m.
Oh, 9:30. That's right.
9:30.
It wasn't even noon by the time we got back to the convention.
It was stupid early. It was awesome. And it didn't break up our day. So we had breakfast, we saw Cap, and then we were ready to spend the rest of the day at Adepticon. It was perfect.
Awesome movie, too.
Yes, and it was fantastic. But we won't spoil it. We will not talk about that.
No more talking
I think the rule about that is you got to wait at least 2 weeks before you spoil anything, so we're going to wait.
That's your rule. Okay.
All right. That's my rule.
Do you eat popcorn at a 9 a.m. showing?
Not after a giant Chicago deep dish pizza and a big breakfast at Egg Harbor.
Okay.
But you do eat goobers. And you drink large amounts of diet soda.
Yeah, you still drink soda, though. You still drink soda at 9:30 in the morning. That does happen.
And it's awesome because Egg Harbor, actually, it's one of the few restaurants that I've ever seen do this, and I loved it that they did. As you're paying for your check, they're like, and would you like your coffee to go? And if you had coffee for breakfast, they give you a full large coffee to go for free.
Nice.
And so they gave us that, and we were drinking coffee on the way across the parking lot because everything's within walking distance right there. And then we got big giant sodas. Russ was two-fisting.
I did it.
I don't know quite how he managed that.
The theater did not tackle me.
Coffee and soda at the same
I thought they were going to tackle me because I was bringing in, outside food and beverage into a movie theater, but they did not. So they let me in. I guess because I bought the soda also, they were figuring like I was clean. So I don't know what the rules are.
I myself just wanted the soda. I didn't want to have two. So I got goobers because all the theaters around here don't sell goobers anymore for some reason. Of course, goobers are chocolate-covered chocolate-covered peanuts.
Yeah.
And I love chocolate-covered peanuts. And that's what I used to always get at the movies. So when I saw that they had them in Chicago, I had no choice. I failed my willpower check and got soda and goobers at 9:30 in the morning.
Nice. So that was our morning Captain America and food run. And then we got back right in the middle of the awesome. So the good thing was we got out of Cap right about like 11:45 or whatever. So the time we got to Adepticon was lunch. Now, for those of you not in the know, do not, whatever you feel compelled to do, ever actually leave the building and eat lunch during lunchtime at Adepticon.
Yeah.
Because during the team tournaments, lunchtime is when they display all their armies in all their glory for painting review.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do is walk through the tournament hall when most of the players have left for a moment to go get bathroom breaks and actually eat food before the next round of the tournament and see all the amazingly painted armies for both Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 because both these team tournaments these tournaments have just simply astounding thematically huge armies that are indescribable. You have to go look at the pictures on our Twitter feed because they are jaw-droppingly amazing.
It's really crazy.
What was one of the most impressive ones you saw that weekend, Craig?
Well, the most impressive one I saw that because I was busy, unfortunately, while you were looking at all this stuff. But the most impressive one that I saw had to be I loved the squats.
Oh yes,
of course. and those were our local heroes, the Cold Steel Mercs. Did the squats. They did an entire mountain stronghold, and it was an entire converted army, of course. Some of it looked very familiar to my own squats, my own dear, beloved, and sold on eBay squats. And that was fantastic. But there was also a giant Tyranid army that had a huge spaceship that was literally, it had to be 8 feet tall. I tweeted a picture of it. So check that feed if you want to see. It was just an enormous, like 8 or 9 foot long spaceship based on a Battlefleet Gothic Tyranid spaceship that was hovering over their over their display board, like attached with this gross umbilical cord down into this. It was awesome in its grossness. That was probably the one that struck me the most.
It is crazy because to give you a sense of idea, so in the 40K team tournament in particular, it's 4 players. Each player brings their own army. And of the same, faction, and usually the points are around, I want to say it's around 1,000 to 1,200 depending on the year, points per player. So you're looking at 4,000 points of army. And they're all themed the same, and they're all many of them are on these huge dioramic boards that bring the whole thing together. And then there was a Tau army there where all 4 players had Tau Fire Warrior cosplay made. So they're standing there in Fire Warrior outfits next to all their Tau. It's just the amount of creativity and imagination and effort that goes into these things is simply it's really hard to describe. And there was just amazing ones. There was another Tau army which is like a giant jungle waterfall scene with the different the new super tall crisis suits were all over the place, and it was just really fantastic. The fantasy side, there was this one where this guy had this huge jungle backdrop, like cliff, and he had a full-size human skeleton, like was almost like a dead giant woven into it. And then his fantasy elves were just literally throughout the entire thing. It looked amazing. It's hard to describe, but really, one of my favorite parts of Adepticon is simply, I actually like not playing during Saturday and just walking around and seeing, because you really can't appreciate all the variety that's there if you play. Have you ever had a chance to really look at all this stuff, Andrew, before?
Yeah, I mean, all the years I was there, I checked out the team tournament area, and there are some amazing things. The dioramas are huge. And, from what everybody there tells me, it's pretty much, we do this all year, and then when Adepticon's over, you shelve it and look at it, and then you start the next one.
The next one, yep. It's an annual project. It's amazing the amount of dedication. And this year, the Privateer the Privateer Press had a really good turnout, too, for some of their tournaments, especially in terms of modeling. I started seeing, for the first time for me, some really crazy transport trays also for armies. So, instead of just a very basic boards with just all the painted models on it, they actually had, one of the guys had a Crix army with a ship, and he had all his models on a cool looking sailing ship. And so they're starting to, some of that Adepticon spirit is really definitely starting to bleed into the War Machine guys. They're starting to do some of the same crazy awesomeness too, which is great to see.
Yeah, they're growing up and they're doing their modeling shops as well. So
I love it.
It's great to see the maturity of the community.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing too about Adepticon too. We should be clear that one of the things that makes Adepticon fantastic, in addition to just seeing the level of effort of the people, but also looking at all the terrain, because they've been building up, the organizers have been building up for years, and they have, the team tournament features I want to say hundreds of players, 500 players, some stupid number, or 400 players. It's 100 teams of each 4 players each. So it's 400 players playing it, and they got all these tables, and all the tables have really nice terrain on them. It's not just the bare minimum. They're really nice looking. And now what they've done is the other games that have joined the Adepticon circuit also have really amazing terrain. I think the War Machine terrain looks fantastic, as it does in many other conventions too. I know TempleCon has some fantastic terrain as well, and even at PAX East they had some great War Machine terrain there also. But here they have great stuff, but also the Malifaux guys now at Adepticon have some of the really sickest terrain. They have huge indoor dungeons they're playing on, and all kinds of Wild West buildings, and a lot of they had different sponsors from different laser cutting companies had donated their own tables and just had their little logos on them. So there's some really amazing looking Malifaux tables. The Flames of War guys have awesome. So basically, there was not a tournament there with just a bunch of boring sheets out. It was all of them had great terrain, which is really nice to see. It makes it a lot more fun to play the models. So that was wandering around looking at the armies Saturday. Craig, did you get to what did you do in the middle of the game Saturday while I was doing all that wandering about?
Well, I spent a lot of time at the Winged Hussar booth, meeting listeners and signing books, which was really cool. And of course talking. And it was right across the hall. It was in the same hall right across the hallway from the Crystal Brush display cases. So I would kind of sort of wander over that way and look at all those amazing models and dioramas. Crystal Brush, of course, is a painting competition sponsored by Cool Mini or Not, a sponsor of the show, and they have a $10,000 prize. So it is way beyond what you usually see at any sort of gaming convention, where the painting competition is, cool. You get a statue, you get a sword, you get this is like a $10,000 prize. So people really actually travel from around the world to compete in the Crystal Brush competition. So the models are really the best you'll ever see. Amazing, amazing, amazing models. Between Russ and I think we tweeted pretty much every picture. I mean, every model that was there, not even close, but a lot of them. So I got a chance to talk to a lot of people. I didn't see a lot except for the Crystal Brush stuff during that time. One of the many interesting folks that stopped by was a man named Gary, who's a friend of Psycho, a listener and friend of the show. And he was an infantry officer, and he served in Afghanistan, and he was telling me about what it's like trying to war game in a war zone. And he had this awesome story where he is a historical wargamer, which is why he was at the Winged Hussar booth, because of all their historical books. They sold out of 2 of their historical books, by the way,
nice.
at Adepticon, so it was awesome for them. And he was talking about how he decided, like, all of the guys in his unit were playing 40K and fantasy. And he was like, okay, I'll play with you guys. I'll have an army shipped over so I can play with you, but you have to agree once a month we're going to do something historical. And they said, yeah, sure, if you'll provide all the models. So he had models for a fantasy army and a bunch of Civil War 15 millimeter models shipped over to the base he was working out of. He didn't have any terrain, however. So he tells this story where he had built on his bed in his room in the barracks. He built an entire city, Civil War 15 millimeter city, out of just stuff he got in the mess hall.
Wow.
So coffee stirrers and things like that. And painted it up, got some paint, painted it up, and that's what they played on. So for a month, he actually slept on the floor because this entire thing was set up on his bed. I have a picture. I think I just put it in the show notes. Hopefully Russ can put it up somewhere. It's crazy. If you look at that and you realize everything on that bed is made out of bits and pieces that he got from the mess hall or that he could pick up, in and around. And I think he might have stolen some little like trees and stuff from other 28 millimeter projects. But it's really, really crazy stuff. So I got to talk, and again, any convention is cool for this, but Adepticon was really cool, especially just being there and talking to the historical guys coming and going. Getting to hear all kinds of really cool stories about that. So while Russ was looking at all the cool armies, I was meeting some really cool people.
Exactly. So then while you were meeting all those people, then I ran into a couple of friends of the show. Of course, Adam, who had been showing us about, he's local to Chicago, and he's a patron as well, and a longtime listener of the show. And Adam had communicated to me before. He's like, hey, you want to play some, he was in our early hangout there. We did the first Patreon hangout.
Yep.
And he was like, hey, do you bring in your war machine? I'll play you. So I happened to have I did bring my 25-point tier 4 Aurora list, my convergence list with me, because it's nice and easy to carry in my bag. So I brought that, and Adam and I played, and I was victorious, Craig. Mm-hmm. I was victorious over Adam.
Congratulations. Now talk about the law of transference.
So first of all, Adam is a New Jersey SOB. So
former.
Former.
Lives in Chicago now.
And in the past,
it might be like being a New Jersey SOB, maybe a lot like being a Marine. Maybe you never stop being an SOB. Yeah,
I think that's correct. Andrew, do you have any evidence of that, Andrew, at all from your
That is correct.
Yes. So and in the past, Adam has defeated Norbert. So by the law of transference, this is now another victory for me over Norbert. So that is now my third one. Is that allowed? Okay. Now then, Andrew, I need your ruling on this also. Then, while I'm playing Adam, Rafe's friend Doc, who is also a friend of the show, happened to be playing at the table next to us in the Iron Arena, which is, as most of you know, and Andrew talked about, was invented at Adepticon, and now is also, invented at TempleCon, is now as Adepticon, which is just like open play tables, which is fantastic because if you just, at a lot of conventions, you just want to play a miniature war game. You don't want to be in a tournament there isn't a place for you. You got to kind of find a place in the corner. You got to bring your own terrain, but not at any of the privateer places. They all run these Iron Arena things now, so you can just wander with your army and have a nice table to play on. So I had this great game with Adam. We had a great time. I barely eked out a victory against him. He really had me. I thought for sure he had me there. So then Doc's watching, and he's like, "Hey, Russ, you want to play?" And I'm like, "Sure," but all I got's my 25-point Aurora list. He's like, "No problem. I've got my tier list also of Everblight. And by the way, I just won the Blood, Sweat, and Tears tournament here at Adepticon, which is where you have to have a tier 4 list." So I'm like, uh-oh. So here we got the guy just won the entire tournament here at Adepticon, comes to play me, and guess what happened?
You beat him.
I was victorious. So therefore, by the gaming law of transference, I have now defeated everyone in the Blood, Sweat, of Tears tournament at Adepticon. Andrew, is that valid?
All out.
All right, excellent. Woohoo! So that is some serious. So that's how you efficiently gain many victories in War Machine. I played only 2 games and defeated at least 16 people right there. That's how that rolls.
Right.
So thank you, Doc and Adam, for putting up with my my craziness during our games. That was fun, and I am very much not. These guys are both like serious hardcore professional War Machine players. So the fact that they even were kind enough to play me and not laugh at my inability to remember all my models rules was really very kind of them. So that was awesome. Then I did swing by, of course, Wing Hussar with Craig and saw all the craziness there. They had a lot of good activity going on. It was awesome. And that pretty much took us to the end of Saturday until we got to board game night.
That's right. International Tabletop Game Day night.
Yeah, so, well there was a Deadzone demo in there, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So board game night, what happens is normally our board game night is Sunday night, which it still was. But because it was International Board Game Day, Adepticon... Tabletop Day, thank you. Adepticon asked us, and one of the folks from Geek and Sundry happened to be there, to run a fun little event. So we did. So we all showed up in a room, and we had a very nice person from Geek and Sundry. She was there helping us out, or doing most of the work, actually. Craig and I just sat around and played games, to be honest with you.
Yeah. She was one of those people that's just like super nice and
she was
super
full
excited.
of energy,
and just super happy,
had a
happy
microphone, raffling off games. It was great.
Russ can fake that kind of energy level.
Yeah,
sometimes
she actually
I can't even fake it.
Yeah, she was going like crazy, which is great. So she was doing awesome.
She was awesome.
And we were just sitting in the corner playing games with folks, and we had a great time. What did we play, Craig? Do you remember?
Well, we started with a couple little things. We started with Dungeon Roll, actually. Yep. A fun favorite. And then we played Bang the Dice game several times, which was fun. Then we did an enormous game. Well, it wasn't enormous. It was the standard 8-player game of Space Cadets Dice Duel.
Yeah, you're right.
And we did that, I think, 3 times.
Yeah, that became a big hit of the weekend. We played Space Cadets Dice Duel like 3 times Saturday night and at least as many times Sunday night, although I think more because I think it got a life of its own and started getting played without us even near it.
Yeah, it started getting played without us running it on Sunday night. But that was fun with people like rotating in and out of different positions.
Oh, it was hilarious to watch.
There's one poor guy got sucked into being captain and had never even heard of the game. That was fun to watch. So that was awesome. But as far as games we hadn't played, first Adam brought Adam and his wife, whose name is escaping me, and it's something that is it Melissa? Because that's my sister's name, and I think I thought that, but I don't know. But anyway, she was very nice. They brought a game that they had got on Kickstarter called Super Fight.
Yes, that was fun.
And Super Fight was a lot of fun. And the way they market Super Fight is it's like apples to apples meets Cards Against Humanity, which is odd because Cards Against Humanity says it's apples for sick people. So I have never played apples to apples or Cards Against Humanity. But Super Fight was fun because basically what it is you get a hand of nouns, meaning like people or things. And then you get some of your cards are those, and some of your cards are modifiers, whether adjectives, whether they're good or bad for your noun they're both really. And then you go around, and each player takes a turn being a judge, and they flip randomly a noun and then 2 modifiers. So you might get like all of the nuns from a Catholic school wielding lightsabers 100 feet tall.
Right.
And you need to, out of your hand, you need to do the best you can to come up with somebody who can beat whatever it is the judge flipped randomly.
Right.
And so you're going to put a noun down, and then you're going to put 1 modifier down, and then a person to to your left or right, depending on the judge decides which way you're going. So you're not always hitting the same person. They're going to put a modifier into yours as well. Mm-hmm. So for instance, at one point we were trying to fight some big giant enormous thing. I forget what it was. It might have even been Cthulhu. I don't remember. And I had I thought it was great. I had a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a grizzly bear, and I had 10 feet tall and in a tank for my modifiers. So I put down a Tyrannosaurus Rex in a tank, and the person next to me gave me Afraid of Heights.
Right.
So then you have to explain to the judge why your combination would clearly be the best for beating the whatever it was that had emerged from the deck. And so it's a really fun, light, fast game. You can't play this if you're going to be serious and judgmental, and you have to be lighthearted and fun and enjoy telling stories and arguing silly things. The Kickstarter apparently has all kinds of expansion decks, so halfway through, we played multiple times. After the first couple times, we ran through we added the deck for location.
Right.
So you might be on the moon, you might be in a subway station, and we added the deck for events like during a tidal wave or during a forest fire. So that was a lot of fun, really light, fun game that I thought was a blast.
That was cool. I enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun, and it is very much Cards Against Humanity, but the one you can play with coworkers.
Right.
So,
yeah. There you go.
Andrew, have you played Super Fight at all, or no? Or you played Cards Against Humanity?
No, but I've played plenty of Cards Against Humanity, so
you know the drill.
Yes.
Right. So we also managed to play the Resistance. Now, Andrew, are you familiar with the Resistance?
I am definitely familiar with the Resistance. In fact, so much so that I can tell you with confidence that I am not a spy.
You're not a spy. Well,
no, you're a traitor.
Right. So what do you like about it? So this is a game like similar to Werewolf or Bang, where you have hidden roles, so you don't know what everybody's role is, and most of the group is trying to accomplish a mission or a series of missions.
You're supposed to be a resistance cell against the sci-fi Imperium,
right?
Or the Empire is what
but
you're trying to do.
Some of you are double agents working for the Imperium, trying to thwart the Resistance's plan.
Right.
And you don't know who they are. And basically, so Andrew, what are your thoughts of this game? Have you tried it in the past? What do you think about it?
I've played it multiple times. I've played it with the older expansion, which was the cards that allow you to gain information during the game. And it's a very cool game because unlike some of the other ones, like the Werewolves of the World, who are usually just completely random, and it just turns into a free-for-all, which is fine. I mean, that's cool. But there's a little bit more deductive reasoning, which you think you can apply based on information that you gain during Resistance, but it's really kind of a trick because the person who sees the card could be lying or not, but it makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely so what happens is there's multiple rounds in this game, and what I like about this too is there's no player elimination. Now it doesn't support as many players as a game like Werewolf, where Werewolf can literally support 50 or 100 players if you've got the
and that would be a big Werewolf game.
But this maxes out at 10, and I think Werewolf really doesn't start shining until you're between 10 and 20 actually.
Yeah.
But this maxes out at 10. But what's cool about it is, so you have a certain number of traders. You execute on little missions, and you're basically all submitting cards into the mission, kind of like a mini Battlestar Galactica mission event, right? So you're all putting cards in.
Yeah.
Some of you are going to put in cards that are going to thwart the event, and others of you are going to put cards in to succeed the event. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is that during each of these rounds, not all the players participate in the event. So the current leader of the event, the mission, is going to pick who's going on the mission with him or her. And only those people put cards in. But before that happens, the rest of the table has to vote as to whether or not they approve of the current team that's being sent in. And there's multiple of these mission points. There's I think 5 missions that got to be completed. And as long as as long as 3 of them don't get thwarted, the Resistance wins, which is the majority of the players, like the Villagers and Werewolf winning. But if 3 or more get thwarted, then the traders win. So you're going to let a couple go by and try to figure out who you think the heroes and the bad guys are. And that's what's neat about it is you can focus on who's on the mission, who's not, and then you can also try to figure out, well, everybody in the first mission group in mission 1, let that one pass. in mission 2, we only changed one person and it failed. So Andrew, since we added him only in the second mission, is probably the traitor. What you don't know is Craig's actually the traitor who passed it in mission 1 to throw you off and then failed it in mission 2 when Andrew was added, banking on the fact that Andrew was probably a good guy, and now all the suspicion's thrown in the wrong place, right?
Yep.
Well, you got to remember that all the traitors, all the non-resistance members know who each other are at the beginning of the game. They will see who they are.
And that's exactly right. So Craig and I saw that each of us in the first round were traitors. So we were all in the mission. Craig and I were both sent on the first mission, and we both all played green, and so the mission passed. The next mission, Craig and I were both on again, but one new person was added. I shook my head to Craig. So Craig played a success. I played a fail. The other person played a success. So now the new person looked at the back, and they all table was against that person the rest of the game.
And they got aggravated.
And they did.
Understandable.
You know, they got upset. So it's a really neat game. Craig, what did you think of it for that style of game? How'd you like it?
I enjoyed it a lot for that style of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed kind of the social aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's extremely difficult for the resistance players to win.
Yeah,
and I think
it's a game that you have to play a lot with each other to get to be at the level where you can win as the resistance. I agree.
Yeah, but I think they knew that, because if you buy it now, if you bought it years ago, it came in a very small box with just the basic cards. If you buy it now, it comes with a bunch of cool linen card tokens and an expansion, which is another deck of cards, which is actually a bunch of abilities that get dealt out at the beginning of every turn, that actually make it much easier for the resistance. And we played it locally. We must have played it 5 or 10 times after we came back from Adepticon last week. And we played it twice, and the spies won both times. And then somebody said, well, why don't we try with the expansion? So, and I love games that come with a quote unquote expansion inside them. I always like that. And so we did. We played with the expansion, and the expansion includes, it's a lot of cards that do things like, and most of them are when you're the leader, and the leader position shifts from mission to mission. And when you're the leader, most of the cards in the expansion are cards you have to give to other people. So now you have to give the card to other people, and then that card allows that person to do certain things. It either makes them show their loyalty card to another person. It allows them to peek at somebody else's loyalty card. And so all of a sudden there's more player knowledge around the table. And with that, if you get the right people at the right time as leaders, then it's relatively easy to start figuring out who the spies are and locking them out of the game.
Yep.
So whereas I found playing without the expansion was extremely frustrating as the resistance, it was still a lot of fun. I found when you play with the expansions, it was I think we must say we played 4 times with the expansion, and I think the resistance won all 4 times, or maybe they won 3 out of 4 times. And I found it much more frustrating with the expansion, because they would figure out who you were, or somebody that was already trusted because of one other card is now looked at your card, knows that you're a spy, says, "Oh, he's a spy," and then you're locked out of the rest of the game. Now the game is fast; it's only a 15 or 20 minute game, so it's not like you're going to be there all night not being able to do anything. It's not like you're playing Bang, the card game, and you got killed in the first round. But it was more frustrating, to the point where I think everybody around the table agreed the next time we played, we weren't going to be using the expansion.
There you go. So that's the Resistance, and I really liked it. I think it's fun.
I think I bought it.
I think it's great.
The next day.
So it's a solid game, and I like it because I think Werewolf breaks down the lower player counts like that. I think Resistance is really good at that level, so it's great. Now, one other thing I really liked about Saturday night was that it seemed like a lot of our patrons made it out to that night, and we were able to play games straight up with pretty much all of them, which is fantastic. So
and that's where we met up with Psycho and his wife. He literally has Psycho tattooed on his neck.
Yeah, a really nice guy. He said he had some very flattering things to say about how the show helped him when he was deployed overseas. So Psycho, thank you so much for your service, and B, for spending time with us.
It was
awesome.
Kind words. It was
very, very
awesome
nice.
to hear that kind of
so that was fantastic. It was great to meet all of our patrons and all of our listeners there. It was awesome, and just to hang out and play games with you guys. And we played a bunch of fast, fun games like Bang the Dice Game and all that great stuff. Now, at the end of the night, as we got ready to go to bed. Well, first, we also to thank some other patrons. We should thank also Adam and Bob for taking us out to lunch, right?
Yeah.
We went Portillo's. I think it's Portillo's. Actually. They took us out to Portillo's, which I guess is another well-known Chicago eatery featuring.
I went there last year, so I knew.
So featuring their lots of things, including the classic Chicago hot dog. Andrew, are you familiar with the Chicago hot dog? Do you know the deal with this?
Not specifically.
All right. So in Chicago, basically, you don't put ketchup on hot dogs. First rule. None. No ketchup. Secondly, but you basically put anything else you find in the kitchen on top of your hot dog except for ketchup. So pickles, yes. Pickles, not
like
relish.
A big giant
not
spear.
relish. Pickles, hots, peppers go on there, onions, some kind of green, funky green stuff that I'm not really sure to identify.
I'm not sure what it was. Almost like a neon green.
It's fantastic. It was really, really good. Very unusual. Really liked that a lot. So that was good.
They have great chocolate cake,
and they have chocolate cake that should not be possible. So I don't even know how that worked, but it was.
And
really
they put that in a shake, but I'm not going to go there.
Don't go there, but so Portillo's another good place to stop. Now, then though, Craig, as he went to bed Saturday night, I played a demo of Deadzone earlier that day, and I had the rules with me. So I started reading through the rules, and this is where the infection started to take place. You see, because I started reading through the rules of Deadzone and realizing that there's really quite a bit of potential there, and I started really liking the way this game works. So we got hooked with Deadzone. I played the demo, and then Sunday I decided I got to drag Craig over to the Deadzone demo at some point.
Yeah.
Right. So we get you over there pretty early Sunday morning.
No, we went on our way to our late lunch. Actually,
yes,
we were heading out the door at like 3.
That's what it was. Yeah. So we got a pretty good start Sunday morning with breakfast.
Yeah.
Again at Egg Harbor because why not? Then we went. Then we had a couple demos we definitely wanted to do. So I want to get Craig to Deadzone, but the other game I really wanted to try was Aetherium. So Aetherium's Kickstarter just started, and they were there, the whole company, Anvil 8, along with demoing the prototypes of their game, which had some of the nice sculpts from the game as well. And they're giving away figures, actually. Craig and I each got one for free. Along with showing how the game works. Now, the hook for this game, this is another one of those miniature board game hybrids. Okay? But the hook to this game is that you're in a virtual reality world. So think Tron or think The Matrix or that kind of thing. So you're playing avatars and all the characters have interesting little references, like RAM is one of your units of power, and there's overclocking is something you can do to crank your guys up, and so things like that. And they're all subroutines and everything. So it kind of evokes Tron, but it also evokes the Matrix because on the basic board it's just like this blue cyber grid. But then the game comes with a bunch of tiles that represent rooms or battle areas that you put on top of the cyber grid. And these tiles, you can spend your resources to manipulate the environment, actually rotate the tiles and move them relative to each other. So you can basically, because you're in a virtual reality, you can actually shape the world around you as you fight in it, which was a really interesting, sort of really unique approach to the game. Yeah. I like the basic mechanics. I love the art. They had some of the rule books there. I like the cards. My only thing was that there's only 2 core factions in the game, and I was kind of like, I'm a big faction guy, but I just heard they announced as a stretch goal they've added a 3rd faction on the Kickstarter, so I'm going to have to go look at it again. But I really thought it was interesting. Craig, you got a chance to play the demo. What did you think of Aetherium?
I did. I thought it was really neat. It's very Tron-like. You're right. You're playing in cyberspace, so there's a bunch of you play on yet another game with one of those rubber mats. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm loving. I like the rubber mats.
Oh, I think they're great.
They seem more indestructible than regular traditional board games.
They're not as easy to store, but
no, and they're expensive. They do add a lot of cost to the games, but
but they're very cool, and it's all gridded out, and it's all like swirly purple colors and everything because basically it's supposed to be the electronic medium in which this digital world is floating. And the whole idea that you're moving the actual battlefield around and you're rotating things, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot. I think there's a little potential there for brain burn. I think where you got to try to figure out. Well, okay, so I'm moving on a grid, and if I spin this around, I can spin it. I don't know what do I need to do, how far I need to go. My demo was not one of the better demos I've had. The guy running my demo kind of was I will explain each mechanic as I beat you with it sort of guy.
Oh yeah.
Which is a mechanic which is a It's a demo technique that you do run into a lot for some reason. I don't find it's very useful in selling me on a game. So I found there wasn't anything I didn't like about it. I think it's very cool. All of your guys are little avatars. When they get crushed, there's like little things that flip up on your console that it affects the virtual reality. Their death basically affects the virtual reality, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. So I thought there were all kinds of really cool elements. And I think the thing that might push it over the edge for someone like you, Russ, is the whole connection to computer programming and the whole computer, that whole theme. Whereas I am not involved in that in any way, shape, or form, so it really didn't call to me.
Yep.
But I thought it was a very cool idea, and the little nods to things like what was that movie where the guy wore that mask? I don't
movie
know.
with the guy, the Lone Ranger?
No.
Lone Ranger. Batman.
No.
Batman.
No.
Flash.
No. The dystopian future movie with the Guy Fawkes mask.
Oh. Yeah.
Based on a cartoon.
V for Vendetta?
V for Vendetta,
nice.
Yes.
Well done, Andrew.
Great movie.
Yes, excellent work. It
did look like V for Vendetta. You're right. There was a very much that art style.
And the main quote-unquote good guy fighting against the government is basically looks like him in a Hamlet pose. So it was cool models. I don't know about their price point, though. It's a lot of money for what you get. Although what you get in the box is a lot more than they were telling you got at TempleCon.
Yeah,
so
right.
If you go to their Kickstarter, which is still going on now, when this show goes live, they should still have about a week to go. You'll see it's there's a lot more in there. There's a lot more models in there than we thought there were, but there's still not. I don't know if it's $100 worth, but it's a very cool. If you're into computers and you really like this kind of tactical board game, I think it's definitely something you should check out.
Yeah. So when I did Aetherium, I thought, well, Craig's not going to be interested in this, and I thought it was cool though. There's definitely some appeal there for me, so I'm having trouble resisting it. But the game that did catch me. So last time I went to Adepticon, which was 2 years ago, I got hooked on Dust Warfare. Then, and I loved it, and my big caveat when I got this was, Dust Warfare was, at the time there were 2 factions, we knew the SSU was coming, and I kept saying if they don't get to 4 quick, it's going to die out, and it's basically, it's floundering, but it's trying to make a comeback, and we did see actually a good bit of Dust Tactics and Dust Warfare there. We got to play some actually on Sunday.
We did a demo.
Yeah, we did a nice demo with it, and it was a lot of fun.
With a listener, and I had this all written down, and I apologize because I lost all of my show notes.
He was very kind enough to run a Dust Tactics demo for us. Yeah. And now Dust Tactics isn't a good segue for Deadzone, which I want to talk about, because Dust Tactics uses a square grid as well. And this is a thing that's starting to happen in the miniature board games crossover where they give you a large...
Ken, see, I knew it was in there somewhere. Thank you, nice. Ken, so who's also a patron.
Ken did a great demo for us,
yep.
And the squares are kind of big in Dust Tactics, and so you sort of feel like you kind of notice the squares are there, and you kind of realize the abstraction, and it kind of takes me out of the game.
There's no attempt to have them blend in, and it's a very abstract movement system.
But it was very nice of him to show us that, and he had some fantastic models, and they had some great terrain. It was so nice of them to take time out of their day to show us
really
that.
Nice. He was running 2 tables on Sunday, one for Warfare and one for Tactics, so he was really doing double duty.
But what really got my interest in Deadzone, when I start reading through it, and then on Saturday when I actually bought in, and then Sunday when I kind of told Craig you really had to go try it out, was that I like my factions. So Deadzone the box, which I had acquired from Myriad Games a little while ago, comes with 2 factions. The Enforcers, which are basically the powered armored humans. And then you also have your Plague, which are basically your space zombie faction, in the core box. And I figured that was what they had right now. And of course, Deadzone's by Mantic, who makes the Warpath universe games, which is essentially a lot of models that would fit just fine in the 40K universe, meaning sci-fi, orcs, and elves and everything. Well, they had the factions at Adepticon, the first time I've ever seen them in person, for both the Rebs, which are a hodgepodge of various alien races that work together to fight evil corporations.
Which is exactly what we said we wanted to see when Warpath came out, and we were sad because it was pretty much squats versus orcs.
Right.
And we said, we really wish they had taken this opportunity to create something new.
Yep.
And that's the Rebs.
That's the Rebs. They have the space turtles and all kinds of other craziness. Then, also, though, they came out with the Marauders, which are the space orcs.
Yep.
And They have 2 what they call Ripper suits in there, which are basically orcs in their big, heavy mega armor with giant Gatling guns and missile on. I mean, literally festooned with weapons, these guys. So I'm looking at this going, oh, geez, I can play orcs again, and I love my space orcs. So I'm like, oh, this is so cool. These models are great. I really want to try them. And now I've already got the box set at home, so if I buy these 2 more factions, I'll have everything I need. And then I started reading the rules Saturday night, and the demo I played Saturday really just touched the surface of the game. It's a D8 system game, but one thing they get along a little bit in the demo, and when you play it more, you really see this. What's interesting is the game is based on what they call cubes. So it's on another one of those, inside the box set of the starter game, does come with this giant mouse mat quality style board you play on. It's small. It's 2 feet by 2 feet, okay? But the key to this game is you play vertically as much as you play horizontally, is the idea. So eventually comes with a lot of terrain. As Andrew mentioned earlier, it's the old school Necromunda style, but it's all plastic. There's no cardboard. So you go all plastic up, and you're meant to build really high. And so they measure all distances in cubes, because these squares you see on the board also count vertically as well. So you're always thinking in 3 dimensions in the game. How high am I above you in levels? How far away above you in cubes? What's interesting, though, is not only do you put your model in a cube and you count how many cubes your model can move, and typically models move 1 or 2 cubes because it's a pretty far percentage of the board when you do that, but the exact positioning of the model does matter within the cube. So if you put the model on one side of a piece of debris that's in a cube, he gets better cover from people firing exactly from the opposite side of that little bit of debris in the cube than he does from someone who's not. So a lot of the line of sight is true line of sight, and it's only kind of abstracted, because the other thing they do about this game I really like is they have something called, there's really 2 kinds of shooting actions in the game. There's your classic shooting action where you need to see part of the model and you're basically trying to shoot the guy and kill him, right? With basically a single shot. But the second type of action is called Blaze Away, where you actually are shooting the cube, not the guy or guys in the cube, and you are attempting to suppress the entire cube. So you roll your volley of dice against the cube. That many successes, each enemy model in the cube's got to try to throw against that, make their saves against that to stop being suppressed. So you actually so it gives you sort of like area effect weaponry. It's very simple mechanics, not any templates or measuring or anything, because it's all based on these cube idea. Yeah. It really, really, the exact positioning being required sort of breaks your mind's eye up with the cube thing, and it sort of works out, and you feel more like you're playing a measuring miniature war game than you do playing a board game on cubes. I don't know, Craig, did you feel that too?
Yeah, I did. I was very hesitant about the cubes, and we shouldn't probably spend too much time talking about this, because we're going to do it sometime in the not so distant future. But yeah, I was hesitant. It was a barrier to me for really getting into the game. But between the graphic design of the mat and what it allows you to do as far as elevations go for shooting and moving, and you've got stuff there's all kinds of stuff that flies. There's jump pack guys, there's drones that hover, there's guys with wings. So you've got all kinds of stuff that's moving in 3 dimensions to start with. Because all the terrain is in 3-inch by 3-inch cubes, and the board is 3-inch by 3-inch cubes, the entire board, the entire play space is this large 3D area cut up into chunks. It made it much easier. It works. It makes suppressive fire work better than you could possibly do without a grid system. It makes, and there's a lot of abstraction still. It's still a grid system, no matter, what else you try to do with it. But because of all these other elements, it really sort of reduced the barrier to me and showed me that it does so many cool things that psychological barrier really was reduced to nothing by the time.
The other sales thing for me,
all this stuff.
Yeah, the other thing, so that was part of it. So the mechanics to me are very innovative, and you're right, Craig. We'll do a full review of this game and cover all that in detail. The other thing that got me excited was not only do they have 4 factions, but a quick check of their website shows that 2 more factions are coming out this summer. Basically, the Forge Fathers, which is space dwarves, squats, and then also space elves are coming out this summer as well. So you're going to have 6 factions out by the middle of the summer for this game. So essentially, their entire Warpath range is being brought in to Deadzone, which is fantastic. So they have a really great range, and I've liked the Mantic models for a long time. What I've been disappointed in is their presentation and their component quality for some of their board game style stuff, and the rules quality has usually been just like very lightweight, light paper stuff, and I like a little meatier. But this Deadzone, they deliver a really high quality, really nice full color rule book. Feels much on par with the other miniature companies out there. The rules are very clearly written, very concise. It's definitely Mantic's coming of age with this game, and it's really a great game. And if you've been looking at Mantic for a while, you want to check out Deadzone, and we will do a full review of it in the near future. So that is Deadzone. So that's what got me sucked into the thing for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Craig, I sucked you into that as well, so I apologize.
Yes.
But not really, because now I got an opponent. Woo-hoo.
That's right.
Then we played a little, so we managed to play with, two of our listeners who are local to Chicago, we have to really thank excessively. One was Adam, and there was Bob. Both of them were great about showing us around town. They took us
driving us around.
Bob took us out to lunch on Sunday to the other big pizza place that's Adam's favorite, which is Lou Malnati's.
Yep.
And they make a slightly different style Chicago deep dish pizza, which was also fantastic.
More of a tangy sauce.
Yes, a different kind of sauce, but very, very good also. So I got to play with Adam on War Machine on Saturday, and on Sunday, Bob was like, "Hey, can we play some Firestorm Armada?" So we did. So Craig and I we've also packed our Firestorm stuff with us, and so we bought that up and played a 3-player Firestorm game until they kicked us out, basically. They had to pack the tables up late Sunday afternoon, so we got to play a little while for that. Craig and who was winning that when we finally got to pack up there?
That would be me.
Yes, unfortunately, you were winning.
Yes. It was an interesting, you were playing Mission, and I was playing, trying to bash the two of you into insensibility. And if the game had gone on for another 10 minutes, you would have been in the lead.
Yes.
And if the game had gone on for another 30 minutes, I would have gone back into the lead again with the amount of because I was just pummeling. I needed to bring one more squadron down below half, and it really would have turned the tides on. It would have undone your taking the objective. So it was a really close, fun game when we got kicked off the table.
Indeed. And I like the battle tracker in Firestorm Armada now. So we're using this thing where, and I don't know if you've seen Firestorm Armada, the new version yet, but each side has a battle tracker, and it starts at 0 and goes up and down based on what happens in the game. So every time you destroy enemy ships, it goes up, and as you take damage, yours goes down. And what's neat about it is it serves as both your victory points, but also your morale tracker in a way. So we had played this rule where we knew they were going to kick us out because they start packing the tables up. So we were going to play until they kicked us out. At the moment they said we had to leave, we were going to stop, and whoever the most victory points wins. And that's what happened. So Craig happened to be up at the moment, so it worked out pretty well. So,
huzzah!
Yeah, exactly right.
Huzzah!
So that was that. Then it was time after a little break for dinner, and it was time for Board Game Night, the D6G annual one, where Adepticon runs their big poker tournament. And at the same time, we set up right next door with our board games. And as people get kicked out of the poker tournament, they come over and visit our board games. But also some folks who don't care about poker, but like board games come over.
A lot of people showed up
and we get,
just for the board games.
Yes, a lot of people. Like many, many more than ever.
Right.
We had, how many things, what do you think the chair count was for that room when we set that up?
Well, the chair count was, if you say like 6 people and say there were about 8 of them, so 8 times 6 is what?
Some number.
48.
Yes, thank you.
48, okay. Yeah. So then I would say there was well over 100 chairs because we had 3 or 4 rows of tables set up. We have pictures again on our Twitter feed.
And they were full. At several points, those chairs were all full.
Not only were they all full, Russ, but there was probably like a half hour, 45 minutes that myself and a couple listeners were just going off into the hotel, finding empty rooms and scavenging tables and chairs. And we brought in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, another 8 tables.
Right. So
with all the chairs, and that was all full at one point.
It was awesome.
Say, all said and done, we're talking between 150 and 200 people. Everybody who came in and left.
And we started at 9 at night, and Craig and I didn't leave till 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah. And there were still people playing.
There were still people going, and then we got reports in the morning that I was there till 4 in the morning, and then I just had to go to bed. So people just went. It was awesome. So people I loved it. We had a great time. We started off there was a small number of people trickling in, so we're like, let's play some more Space Cadets, which got the whole thing rocking at the right clip. Everybody yelling, screaming, carrying on. Then of course Hex XL came out. Another pure win.
Try to explain Dungeon Roll to a bunch of drunken Australians. I did.
How did that go?
It was awesome. They were having a blast. I don't know if they were playing right, but they were having a blast.
So we have
I think they were English. I don't want to upset them.
I think Adepticon's board game collection is now up to like 50 games or some ridiculous number. So we're playing all the different games in the collection. Of course, our great sponsors and friends of the show, like Stronghold Games and Smirk and Dagger and Game Salute. all sent in Conquistador. In fact, so Conquistador sent in more games as usual, and there was the new science sitting there on the table, and a bunch of listeners who normally I see at Adepticon happen to be down here I normally see at Gen Con, happen to be at Adepticon this year, and they're like, hey, Russ, you keep raving about this. Let's play it. So I was going to show it to him, then I was like, oh, there's room for one more. Deal me in. So we played the new science. I love that game. It's so much fun. We got right into it. We were getting into the whole theme of it and everything, and it shouldn't be that exciting and action-packed to be doing scientific research, but it totally is with this new science. So we had a great time with that. Craig, what kind of stuff did you play?
Well, I started off with Hex.
Yeah.
Because there's a group that refused to play anything until they play Hex with me at the beginning of the night. So that was fun. And then I was sort of playing host, and I was running around making sure everybody had games and helping people start their games. And then I believe it was Adon, long-time listener and friend of the show, Adon, was playing somebody was playing you in Rivet Wars.
So I was playing Rivet Wars with him, and then the new science guys were like, Russ.
Set up and you'd had half a turn.
Right.
And the guys who were playing the new science were like, Craig, you need to help us. And I was like, I don't know that game. Let me find Russ. And I was like, hey, Russ, they need some help. And you went over and got sucked into that. So I ended up playing, and if it's not Adon, I apologize. But I ended up playing the entire game of Rivet Wars. Had a lot of fun. That is a great game.
It is fantastic.
Aesthetically, it's still not really my cup of tea, so I'm not sad I didn't buy into it.
Yeah.
But I would love to play it again. It was a lot of fun. We really, really had a good time. I ended up playing then we had the big table crisis, so then I was shuffling tables all over the place. Then I got dragged into another game of Hex, this time with Terrace and a bunch of the people from the Geek Nations tour. Terrace, I want to little shout out and congratulations to Terrace. -20 at the end of that game of Hex.
Is that even possible?
That is actually it was a -24 because the scorecard only goes down to -20.
Kurt, is that a record? We didn't know.
He kept saying I can't go down any lower, and I kept saying,
track
Terrace,
it.
You're making history. You have to track it.
Track it.
So he tracked it down to a -24 by the time we finished.
That's awesome.
That is impressive.
-24.
That game broke a whole lot of. We had one hand that had 3 grabs in it. We had one hand where we had 7 hexes all going at once. It was brutal. It was awesome. The most ugly, brutal game of Hex I've ever played in my life. And I'm pretty sure I played other things, but I can't remember. Oh, we played Perudo on Saturday night. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, I played some Hex also. I believe I injured a small child also when I was playing.
Yeah, there was bleeding in my first game.
There was blood. Yeah. Had a great, I played some of the Rivet Wars there. Rivet Wars got a lot of play. That game rotated around the whole room.
Yes, it did. In fact,
so thanks to Cool Mini or Not for bringing that out. That was great.
That was awesome. Hank, one of the main guys who runs the whole convention, came after he got kicked out of the poker tournament and was hanging out with us for a little while. And that was 1 a.m. And I don't know what sort of illicit material Hank uses for energy, but he looked like he was about to fall over. I was like, Hank, go to bed. We got this. He's like, I was going to go up to my room, and Rivet Wars had just been put back on the game table, and he looked at it and went, you think I could take Rivet Wars up to my room and play it? It's like, you do whatever you want. And literally, while he was contemplating it and about to go over, somebody swooped in and took it to start another game.
Yeah, it was the hotness. So just so many great games. It was great hanging out with everyone Sunday night as always. And we're looking forward to again doing it next year. Adepticon's been great to us around that, and they are talking about. They're always talking to us about making it more of a part of the show. So we're looking forward to how that's going to work out.
And expanding it, and maybe doing more with it. So next year, who knows? You may see even more.
Well, we did 2 nights this year, so who knows? We'll see what happens next year.
Yep. And I do want to finish this up with I tweeted out my Adepticon resolution. I brought a bunch of games with me to Adepticon. Yep. I brought X-Wing. I brought Wild West Exodus. I brought Firestorm Armada. I brought Bang the Dice game. I brought my own werewolf game.
Yep.
I brought Perudo, and my resolution was this stuff is really heavy. I want to play everything at least once, and I failed. I didn't play Wild West Exodus. I blame Russ. I didn't play X-Wing. I blame myself because I brought my entire X-Wing collection, which is really, really heavy. So nice. I will not be bringing X-Wing anymore ever again. So that was the result of that resolution. I'll bring these skirmish games and models.
You know what though? There was a lot of X-Wing tournament going on. We should mention
there was.
that.
No, X-Wing was
got
going
major
great.
play.
I just didn't get a chance to play it, and this is the second year in a row that I've dragged that heavy case out to Chicago.
X-Wing is the exception that is proving my rule about factions, because there's only 2 factions in X-Wing, and that game is exploding like wildfire. It is everywhere. It was at PAX East being hugely played. It was at Adepticon, both in given X-Wing tournaments. Every board game night someone was playing it. It was just, it's huge. It is huge. So, just saying.
Right.
So there you have it. That was our Adepticon visit. So what do you think, Andrew? Do we make you excited to go back again?
I think I'm going to put it back into the rotation next year and maybe try some of that tomato pie.
There you go. You got to have the tomato pie. So, Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
It's always fun to have you on,
to join us on the show today. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Enjoyed being with you guys, and hope to catch up with you next time we see some of these conventions out there in the world of gaming.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, if anybody wants to keep up with all the things you're up to, where should they find you on the intertubes?
You can check me out at CaptainCon.com. You can check Captain Con out on Facebook, and the Kickstarter campaign will be going for about another few days after this releases.
Yeah, sure.
And then you can follow me personally at Twitter at Hacksaw76.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Andrew. And we'll, as we said, we'll see you in the gaming verse here soon, hopefully.
We'll see you out there.
Take care.
Well, ahoy, me mateys. This be Captain Barbossa of the Black Pearl. If it be lost treasure you be looking for, well, I'll send you down to Davy Jones' locker. But if it be lost chapters, well then, you've come to the right place. Go to the D6 Generation website and click on the stack of books labeled the D6 Lost Chapters. There you'll find all the details on how you can acquire these beauties, and you won't even need a treasure map.
Hey, and welcome back. It's time to talk about our friends at Geek Nation Tours, Craig.
Geek Nation Tours.
Whoa, nice reverb on that one.
Geek Nation Tours.
Thank you. Geek Nation Tours always doing an awesome job. If you need to go someplace and you want to go, and let's say you're a traveler and you want to go place, a couple of different scenarios. You want to go someplace you've never been before and you're not comfortable with the area, you don't know what's going on there, you want to make sure you see all the cool stuff, but you want to make sure you see the cool stuff that you are interested in. And that's where Geek Nation Tours comes in, because these guys know exactly the kind of stuff that we as geeks like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they all know all the cool stuff around it. So if you go on a Geek Nation Tours to a particular convention, you will also see all the cool stuff around that particular convention. And there is no better convention than to try this out at the Gen Con convention this summer coming up, right, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good example of the kind of tours that are going to be going on. So go to geeknationtours.com to check out all the different destinations, but use what we're about to tell you about the Gen Con trip as a guideline about what they're going to do, because basically you're traveling with Terrace and his team, and these guys, they are gamers. They know what you're interested in, and they've done all the research ahead of time. They've got the whole thing planned out. You are not just going to do whatever convention it is you're going to. You're going to be going to museums in the local area. You're going to be seeing local areas of points of interest. You're going to be eating at all the best restaurants that have any sort of interesting, cultural element to them. And you're going to make sure, he's going to make sure you don't miss anything. So at Gen Con, you're going to be going to True Dungeon. You're going to be going to Artemis, the awesome bridge, Starship Bridge Simulator. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but you're going to be sitting with stars. You're going to be sitting with cosplay extravaganzas, and you're going to be sitting with Ensign Kim. And right. Honestly, it's really the only way for a geek to travel.
It is indeed. And that's the great thing. Especially a convention like Gen Con where there's so much to do and you got to sign up in advance. And what do you pick? What do you not want to miss? And he's got conference calls set up with people who've been to Gen Con many, many times, including Craig and myself, to help the people on the tour walk through. What are your interests? What do you like to see? Here's some tips and tricks. Here's where you want to register early. Here's the kind of event you want to make sure you don't miss. It's just that kind of level of service on all of their tours. And they have so many. So go to geeknationtours.com and click on upcoming tours to check out all the GNT hotness. And don't forget to tell them the D6 Generation sent you. Yay!
This edition of Did You Ever Notice is brought to you by all of our friends and patrons over at Patreon. Go check it out and see what's going on over there. We've got almost 100 people now that are signed up that are taking part in the little forum that we have going on, that get to take part in the interviews and give us questions and just support the show. All it takes is a penny, 99 cents. $2 an episode gets you access to all of those lost chapters, blah. And in particular this week, I'd like to thank Luna Voco, Keith Shutters, Mark Morrison, Brett Carlisle, and Elindo Castro. So thanks a lot, guys. And to everyone else, go check it out. At least you get to see Russ's head live. Did you ever notice how awkward talking about money can be? Especially when you're talking about a creative endeavor and you're right at the early part of your career. The last thing you want to do is talk about money and talk about what you think you're worth. It's just really awkward. And for me, it has always been awkward. I have something of an old money view of money, meaning I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to think about it. It makes me feel dirty. Of course, I don't have any money, so it makes it a lot easier to avoid talking about it than it must be for old money. But you get what I mean. And what I'm getting at though is it's really important to talk about that up front when you're doing a creative work, like say writing or web design or working for somebody's Kickstarter, any of the things that you could be doing. Any professional will always tell you that contract right up front is really important. When I first started writing way a long time ago, everybody told me, you've got to get a contract. You've got to get a contract. And because of my attitude about money, I was always like, no, if they don't bring it up, I don't want to bring it up. I mean, what if they don't? What if it's a deal breaker? I mean, first of all, if it's a deal breaker, then that's just foolish. You don't want to get involved with that kind of thing anyway. But the more important thing is, and this is something that I didn't point, like it's so obvious, I think, to professionals that they don't bring it up. They just say it's important to have a contract. The reason isn't because of the money. I mean, the money is part of it. You don't want to do a bunch of work and then get paid half of what you thought you were going to get paid. The thing is, though, it's expectations. Everybody needs to know what's going on. And that's huge. It's huge because you don't want to do a lot of work and then have it be something other than what's needed. And it happened to me. It happened to me a long time ago. I was approached to do something and it was very exciting and they were a very new company and it was really, really neat. And I was going to write an entire book. It was going to be a gaming supplement, not a novel, but it was going to be all me. It was going to be the biggest thing I'd ever done, completely on my own. It was going to also be a chance to write some stories. It was going to have 4 original short stories in it. It was going to be great. I was in awe. And this company didn't do contracts. And when I brought it up and I was sheepish and I was like, oh, how about a contract? And they were like, oh, we don't do those. I mean, we trust each other. You trust us. Don't. And I said, absolutely. And I do trust you. And I did trust them and I trust them today. The thing is, it's not about trust. And that's where I was mistaken. A contract is not about trust. A contract is about expectations. And that's huge. It's huge. And I missed it completely. And so these two groups, me and this group, this other group, these two parties, okay, entered into this understanding, except it was completely based on a misunderstanding. And so I spent 2 months in my basement here working, and it was in the fall, and they had a really close deadline. So the play was going on. So I would work all day. Then I would go to rehearsal. Then I would come home and I'd come down to the basement and I would work for hours every night. My family didn't see me at all, for these 2 months. And Karen was great. She was like, oh, I understand. You're paying your dues. This is going to be great. I was super excited. I was jazzed up. I was energized. I was writing these short stories. I was doing all this stuff that I don't enjoy, which is working with game mechanics. But I was in on it. I was doing all kinds of play testing with my friends and they were all getting excited about it. And when I finally was done, and I have this other thing too, and this is a problem to this day, is I don't like showing people stuff until I think I have something cool to show. So I didn't show them anything until I was done, basically. And I said, okay, here we go. Now I just need you to go through it and tell me if everything's okay and what you need fixed. And they were like, this isn't at all what we thought you were going to do. This isn't at all what we expected. And there you go. Because we didn't establish it. If we had had a contract very specifically states from beginning to end what's going on. And what you're going to get for it, yes, is part of it. Compensation is part of it. But the primary part of it is exactly what you're responsible for, what they're responsible for. So you know what you're supposed to be doing. And I didn't do that. And so I spent 2 months working on this massive project, and it was not what they needed, and it wasn't anything they could use, as it turned out. And so this project, which would have been about $4,000 at the rates that I was getting back then, was for nothing, because it was nothing that they could use. It was nothing that I could use. And so it's just a giant, enormous file on my computer. And it's nobody's fault. I mean, it's mostly my fault, to be honest, because I should have been going back and forth with them to make sure. And I've since learned that I'm serving their needs. So every time they do something or I do something, I should be showing it to them and getting their approval before I move on. And I've learned that. But a contract would have done that right up front. And that's where you really need to put your focus and your time. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're writing, whether you're, like I said, web design, whether you're working with somebody for their convention, whether you're working for somebody for their Kickstarter, you need to have everything up front. And we do a lot of stuff for other people with the D6 generation, and we always make sure, if it's not a contract, which it very seldom is, what we usually have is what's called a document of understanding, which means we write out specifically, we are going to do X, you are going to do Y. That way everybody knows what's included. Everyone knows what's involved, what they're getting, what they're not getting. It's a superly huge, important part of the whole process. And so a lot of people come and ask me, different advice about writing, and I'm not putting myself out there as a big authority on writing. I mean, I've done some of it now, but I know there's a million things that I don't know, and I think that's key too. Know that you don't know everything. I don't know pretty much anything. Okay. But it also is something that came up in a question that that the guys over at Worlds End Radio asked me in the interview that I did with them. And oh, by the way, if you're at all interested in seeing how I would perform in rapid fire, go check out the latest Worlds End Radio episode, because they ambushed me with that. It was fun, but yeah, I'm glad I don't have to face that every week. I'd rather write it and then, but anyway. So it's key. So any of you guys who are doing anything, whether you want to write, whether you're getting started, like I said, web design, drawings, anything that you're doing for someone else, make sure that everybody knows what's going on right up front, and you'll be happier for it. I promise you that. And it's awkward, I know, and it's frustrating, but really, honestly, you don't want to put in all kinds of time and effort and have it be something that the people you want to please can't use. Okay? It's really important. If you want to establish yourself, you want to get out there, you want to start working, you need a contract, or at least a document of understanding, so everybody knows what's going on. And that's about all I've got to say about that. So thanks for listening, and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@thed6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like the streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big day. Wherever there's a hang, you'll find a Spider-Man.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. If he's led to a fight and a duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Doctor's banner, belted by Dan.